about narrative, right? But in seriousness, a big old knight having a 3-up, 5-up doesn't make it particularly durable nowadays, even with toughness 12. It's just not
when
a
you've got greater demons with literally 4 wounds left with a 4-up save and a 5-up feel no pain.
Yeah,
and get wounds back.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
I think
4-up.
I think if you're gonna, one of the ways you can encourage people to run big knights is by making them significantly more durable than the little ones. But they're kind of exactly the same durability. 2 little knights is essentially the same as 1 big one. Right, essentially. Right, you wonderful human beings, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine Tuesday. Joe and I are back here for a Liam and Joe show. No Tom today's working.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff to talk about. I look a mess today, Joe.
The colouring on the blues fits really well on those books.
I'm so fucking exhausted still.
Really?
And we were on stream last night, right? And we finished at 9. And Lucy was like, early night tonight, I want to get to bed soon. I was like, right, cool. She's like, but I stripped all the beds today. I haven't made any of them. Right, okay. I've got to do that. And then she was like, so I stripped the beds, made the beds. We made the beds. I had a shower. And then I came downstairs, and I'm not sure where she was. And she came in the office, sat down, scrolled on Reels for like 40 minutes. So are we going to go to bed? Or like it's like 10:30 now?
Yeah.
Climbed the stairs, said, right, kids, time for bed. The youngest starts crying because he got promised porridge, bedtime porridge by mum. And she's like, oh yeah, I forgot to make that.
Well, is this the 1300 or something?
In our house, it is, yeah. So down she goes to make his porridge. I was like, I actually didn't get to bed till like 20 to 12 after we made porridge.
I went to bed at 1. I introduced my missus to Jackass. She never watched Jackass.
Really? Never?
Never. She knew it existed, but we watched Jackass forever because I hadn't watched it
That light's
yet.
not on. I wondered why it was a bit weird.
And
keep
she never watched Jackass, so we watched Jackass forever, which was great, and now she wants to watch more Jackass. And then I went downstairs and built models.
Okay.
I built a rhino and then cleaned off the 2 Helldrakes that
Paddy gave you, yeah. Well, that's much nicer. Look, it's nice and bright now. There we go. Ooh. I was like, why does it look so dark when I look that way? It's because that light wasn't on.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I actually didn't get to bed till like half 11, 20 to 12, and not for the right reasons. And then the alarm went off this morning at 6:30, and I was like, I don't want to.
6:30?
Yeah, every day. Well, not weekends.
No wonder you're miserable all the time.
I'm not miserable.
You're so sad and angry.
You wonder why I laid in bed till 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday? Because I could.
No.
Yeah, but on like a Tuesday or Thursday, 6:30 alarm's important. Because normally 6:30 alarm goes off, coffee for like half an hour, get up, sort the kitchen out, swear everything away, get in the car, go to the gym, do an hour and a half in the gym, get back, have something to eat, get changed, get ready to come over here, set the stream up. So I need to get up.
If you got the kitchen squared away the night before, you get up half an hour later.
You can't put breakfast bowls in the kitchen in the dishwasher the night before, can you?
Yeah, but.
And what I do is the night before, the kitchen gets cleaned up and the dishwasher gets packed and filled and turned on, and the next morning it gets empty, so it's an empty dishwasher for the rest of the day.
I don't have a dishwasher. I just do the wash up at night and then it's fine.
Anywho, welcome back, you wonderful human beings. It's fucking cold today down here. It was really cold in the studio when I came in.
There was snow at mine last night.
You can hear it was there. If you can hear a humming, it's because I got the heating on full blast because it was freezing in here. And Joe came in and was like, "Oh, it's lovely and warm in here now." I said, "It wasn't." So I apologise if you can hear that humming. I don't think you can, but it's now lovely. Finally in the studio, and we're here to talk about something that's kind of related to some new releases, kind of just something a bit different from talking about Beachhead, because Adam's had more than enough advertisement out of us, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Although we did both have a great time. We talked about this a lot last night on the hobby show. So if
did
you want to
tell them what happened to me
about you being sick 5 times?
Yeah,
I did. Yeah,
I imagine you relished that quite a lot.
I didn't relish it.
As in telling people.
Oh, I just told people.
Yeah.
Joe was very sick.
Yeah.
He was a very poorly boy.
Did you laugh?
Because I did.
Yeah.
Because he's got no self-control.
The problem is that I drank less than I drank at Sheffield. Much less.
I don't know if you did.
But because what happened was I didn't drink 12 pints before I left the first pub.
No, but you did have a number of beers in Beachhead and a number at the restaurant.
I had 2 and then 2. So I had 4 before we went to Wetherspoons. Whereas last time I just sat there and just drank 12 pints of cider, and then we went out drinking.
Yeah.
I think it was because I kept on being handed various different luminescent coloured shots.
Yeah, they were very soft drinky, very easy to easy to drink.
It's like chocolate. It was like strawberry milk. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, why's my connection lost for my Stream Deck, Joe? Why have you breaking it? I need to press the like and subscribe button. There we go. Like and subscribe. Done.
There we go.
Cool. Like and subscribe, chat. Good. Anywho, obviously this weekend, whilst I was playing Index Eldar at Beachhead having a great time, Codex Eldar got shipped out to everybody who'd pre-ordered it either via Element or War Games or Vortex or Games Workshop, right? Or any of independent of choice. Codex Eldar, straight in front of me, got shipped out to you wonderful people. And you could then start digging into all the extra rules and lore and stuff like that we haven't yet shown you on stream. And there was a couple of things I've seen out there. Specifically, I saw one on an Instagram story from an Instagrammer that I watch who paints some of the most beautiful Eldar you've ever seen in your life. And it got me thinking, and it's not specifically about this one individual issue, but it got me thinking in general.
Yeah.
I'm seeing very commonly at the moment a lore tweak or change happens in a codex,
Yeah.
and the internet loses its fucking mind.
Yeah.
And I want to be like, does it matter? So specifically for this one, they supposedly have changed what the actual formation of Wraithbone is.
Yeah.
And they've changed it from what was just a psychoactive material, essentially, to a mineral composite mix with a psychoactive material. So
what they've done is they've just elaborated a bit.
So what? Bone Stingers still shape and mould it and grow it? What's the problem?
I like to imagine that like Bone Singers are just a bunch of like crazy elves in a dressing gown and their pants and a flute. Just like doodle 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 doodle, like growing crazy shapes. And no Eldar wants their home to look like that, but these massive nutters are just running around growing odd shit.
I'm into that.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Obviously, there's been more extreme law changes. This is a subtle law change, I think. Yeah. And people have called it a massive retcon and a huge step backwards. Fucking bore off.
What I don't like is when the game doesn't feel like the law.
No, that's fair. We'll get
I
into
don't care
that.
about law changes as long as it makes sense.
So, and this is what we'll get into. I'd love for people to defend the whole "this is a huge step backwards, it's terrible" type stuff, right? I'd love for people to defend it for me. I've, as I always say, 100% always open for my mind to be changed. But I just look at it and I think, does it matter? Do we care? Does it really make a massive difference? Potentially, does it open up more narrative angles in the future? Does it give them the option to bring more units in the future?
Yeah.
Does it give them the option to expand the Eldar race again? And maybe the Eldar race goes through its own expansion because now they can mine this material rather than just having to grow it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, does it allow more advancement in the future? If that's the case, why would we consider it negative? There's other issues that have occurred, of course, of 10th edition as well. We know, we looked at this quite heavily, the female custodian that appeared in the Custodian's Codex, and the world lost its mind about that as well. Now, I said back then, I can understand people getting upset because of the way in which Games Workshop handled that law change. I thought that was negative.
Yeah.
But the fact that law change existed, I'm like... And the other thing is, there was a player at Beachhead this weekend, as I'm sure I showed you guys last night on the stream, and I'm sure you saw it. You had a whole army of Chaos Knights made out of baby dolls.
Oh, that was brilliant! I love that.
Super creepy, amazing. Yeah. The point of the reason why I bring that up again is my point is whatever Games Workshop do with the law and the narrative, which they're entitled to do, it's their narrative, it's their intellectual property. You don't also necessarily have to accept it.
Yeah.
You can do what you want. If you go, actually, no, the Wraithbone in Minecraft world is still the old Wraithbone, that's fine.
Because it's like, I think it's like, at the end of the day, I was saying to someone out, like, because Dan was talking about, like, base size and stuff, and he was like, because he's doing all old hammer elves, right?
Oh, yes.
So it's all 2nd edition, 3rd edition, 4th edition, 5th edition elf models, right? He's going to put them on the bigger bases.
For Eldar?
For Eldar.
I've got some if you want some.
And he was like, do I put the avatar on a square base?
Oh, peak.
Right? And I was like...
Peak.
I was like, yeah. He was like, well, I'll get I'll get a thing, like a base that it slots onto or stands on so it's the right size, but do I have it as square? I said, the people like us will think it's the best thing ever and it'll be great, and all us old hands will think this is incredible and we'll love it. Competitive players, that concept will shoot so far past their head that they think you've got brain damage, but you're not doing that for them. It's your hobby. You do it the way you want to do. So I was like, there'll be people out there, like, oh, I've got loyalist Iron Warriors for 40k. Cool. People will be like, but Iron Warriors are all baddies. It's like, yeah, but mine got lost in the warp, during a warp storm, during the heresy, and they've come back now. One of my favourite things
at events is when you come up against an opponent who's done something like that, right? Loyalist Iron Warriors, and they're excited to tell you their story. I love that moment. I love the fact they're excited to tell you their story. They're excited to tell you why the Loyalist Iron Warriors, how this came into being. I love those kind of moments, and I feel like if I come up against an opponent who's done something like that, who's got that kind of army, who's got that kind of backstory, and is excited to share that kind of backstory with me, my opinion is I'm almost instantly going, I'm going to enjoy this game. Yeah. This dude's all right.
It's like much like the Marvel universe. There's people like, well, what if Emperor's Children stayed loyalists, right? Here's my loyalist Emperor's Children army that are just normal Space Marines. I like having a pink and purple army with big gold eagles everywhere. And people are like, yeah, do you want?
Yeah.
But it's like having a law change about what Eldar houses are made out of, ultimately, and being upset by it,
I know,
is a ludicrous thing to be upset by.
Here's the other thing as well, right? Law has constantly changed throughout the whole of Warhammer. Yeah. It wasn't originally 18 fucking Primarchs. That didn't exist.
Yeah.
None of that happened.
The Horus Heresy, the whole of the Horus Heresy stories, the novels, the 100-book thing that exists now, that all came from a tiny little footnote paragraph on the side of one of the rules pages in like the old Titanicus book, and that was it. It's like once upon a time there was a young child with daddy issues.
There's a famous phrase about soldiers and squaddies that we used to get thrown at us all the time, and I actually think it's more appropriate for wargamers specifically. There's two things, Joe. Two things that wargamers hate: change and the way things are.
Yeah.
There's the two things that wargamers hate. So if you change it, they'll hate it, and if you leave it as it is, they'll hate it.
Yeah, and it's like someone says there's like people complaining that 10th edition, the game has lost a lot of its flavour. And it's like, yes, but the narrative hasn't lost its flavour. The narrative is huge. Right? I'm really excited. There's a book coming out this weekend called Interceptor City, which is a sequel to one of my favourite Warhammer books called Double Eagle, which is all about Double Eagle is all about a Thunderbolt squadron. Because I just fucking love Thunderbolts, and they're amazing. But I can't play with Thunderbolts now because they've got rid of them. They're Legends unit now.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes, the game has lost something really, really cool, and it's one reason why that book's on the table right now.
We'll talk about that in a moment.
We'll talk about that in a moment. It's like yes, we have lost things from the game that don't exist. Games Workshop is very much trying to stream. I think 10th edition is Games Workshop preparing Warhammer to go pro in the sense of go big time in the world. You've got the TV series, you've got games, you've got Space Marine. I think Games Workshop is going, how do we make this game streamlined and more accessible?
Do you think that's what's
to
going
play?
On? Okay.
Get rid of metal, get rid of resin. Make armies a bit more streamlined. Like get rid of some of the chaff units. They could exist in the lore and they could be there, but this is the game as it is at the moment, kind of thing. But if you want to learn about how Eldar grow a ship, read a book.
I just don't think it makes such a big difference to it. I don't see the big deal behind this change. And I'm open to being educated here. But the law, people that say, the law is established and you shouldn't mess with the established law, that's all they've done for the last 20 plus 30 years. 20 to 30 years they've done that. They've changed the core. The core of where the Horus Heresy came from changed repeatedly. We wouldn't have the core. If Games Workshop were like, once we've written something in law, we're not going to change it, we wouldn't have the current Horus Heresy. No. It wouldn't exist. It wouldn't exist.
No.
So then now tell me that the Horus Heresy is a bad piece of narrative for Warhammer and the Games Workshop franchise. Yeah. Because it wouldn't exist if they only ever stuck to original written lore.
Yeah.
So I just don't see what the problem is, and I like to see some of these little changes. I like to think often, maybe I'm giving them far too much credit here, but I like to think often that these little tweaks and changes normally happen for a reason. Something's coming in the future, and they go, maybe again, like I say, maybe I'm giving Games Workshop too much credit here, but I like to think that sometimes they're going, if we make this change in the future, it doesn't make sense right now. We need to set it up so that it can work, so that it can happen.
Yeah, they also put just slip the odd MacGuffin in there if they need it. So Blackstone, so what Necrons have, and Blackstone fortresses. Blackstone, psychically inert material, but it can be used to increase psychic potential. So they're like, it's mainly for this reason, but in a very specific situation, it can do this.
Yeah.
In case we need to get out somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, the other thing as well is Josh says this in chat, right? I'm keeping an eye on chat at the same time. This is the multitasking of a streamer's life. Okay.
Yeah.
I just think the change was pointless and it was more unique before. I don't necessarily disagree with the fact that it's more unique before, and I think that at the moment I would agree with you that the change is pointless and it was more unique before. I'm not arguing that point at all. Actually, I agree with both of those things. However, at the moment, the change looks pointless. We don't yet know, again, if they're going to think about in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, thinking about advancing the Eldar narrative or the Asuryani narrative, because their current narrative of they're a dying race, it's weird, right? So the Eldar have been a dying race forever. They've been a dying race since the birth of Slaanesh, but they haven't died yet.
Yeah.
So Games Workshop might be like, there's only so long we can get away with them being a dying race.
Breeding like rabbits.
We're going to continue to progress the 40k narrative. So if we continue to progress the 40k narrative of a race that are a dying race, then what should happen logically is they die. But we're not going to do that. I don't know if you've kept an eye on the Games Workshop website over the course of the last 2 weeks. Significant portions of Eldar are fully sold out. Yeah. They're a very popular faction. So there's no way they're going to let them die out as a dying race.
No.
They sort of gently went down the path of the Ynnari. That's kind of been shrunk down a little bit, and they're focusing on the Craftfall stuff. So as it stands, on the surface, it does look pointless. It looks like, why change it? There was no need for a change. But I would throw 2 points back at you for those. The first one is, so we don't know if it does have a point in the future, and it might be coming. The other point is, if it's that pointless, why are people so upset about it? Because you're literally telling me it makes no difference.
Yeah, and it's like I said, like, the get out clauses, right? Eldar dying race, right? One of the things that Eldar have is the webway, right? And the law of the webway is that it's huge. It literally expands the entire galaxy. It's literally unmappable because it's so big and changing and winding. Like, there's like bits where entire spaceships can fly in, and sometimes it's just a tiny little door in a wall, and then like some parts are infested by demons, some parts are just dead, and then
some parts you have to open gates.
And some open gates and they don't know where they go to. So Games Workshop be like, cool. For the last 10,000 years, 100 billion elves have been living a peaceful life farming in this part of the webway, and they've just been found.
But people will be upset about that as well.
They would be upset. But Games Workshop leave these things in the narrative. It was like, but they can literally turn around and be like, and here it is. Like there's a missing Tau sphere of expansion, right?
But here's
like they'll be like, they've come back now, and they've gone full Rambo, make everything out of bean cans army. It's like, here's your like cool commando Tau, and people will be upset about that because Tau are the shooting army. And so, but they had to adapt to the situation. Now they're fighty Tau.
Here's the other thing as well. If you bought 5 codexes, one after the other, and the narrative was always exactly the same,
I'd be boring, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? You'd what's the point of having? What's the point buying the 5th one?
Yeah, I'm like, Abaddon's still a double R bastard. Good, carry on. Next bit, thank you.
But like, I've read some of the narrative in the book so far. I'm actually a bit behind where I wanted to be right now in terms of reading the narrative, because the Eldar book is quite literally the only codex I ever buy. I read all of the narrative on every single page, including all the little bits you get on all the data cards as well, because I fucking love it so much. And I'm a bit behind right now. If these sorts of tweaks and changes means that I'm going to get a big lore advancement for my Eldar in the future, I'm like, cool, make the change. I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually make any difference to how my army plays. It hasn't made a difference to my rules. It doesn't make a difference to it's such a non-issue for me, that kind of narrative change, that I don't understand why people are so upset by it. It doesn't affect them in any way. It doesn't impact anything really at all. So if that's the case, if it doesn't affect it, why be upset about it? And maybe wait and see what they do in the future.
The problem is like the difference is that like most things, like how the internet exists. I'm sorry to poke fun at you, but you do exist.
You do exist.
You do exist, right? And this book is kind of the same, but you changed one minor thing that only Tom cares about. Only like I was like, I'm really into the molecular makeup of Eldar houses. Like Games Workshop, but like well, only Tom cares about it. So if we do make a change, we're only upsetting
He's picked
Tom.
a random name, by the way.
Yeah,
Just
if there's someone in Tom that really cares about it, they mean you. They don't. But like it's such a minor change. Why I can understand the custodies thing. People were upset about, but it wasn't the case of. It wasn't the case of them introducing the female custodies that people were upset about. Mostly is how games.
No, I think that's more 50-50. I think there was a lot of people that were actually upset about the fact that female custodians were brought into being. Yeah, in my personal mind, do I have a problem if someone comes to a table at a tournament with female custodians? Couldn't give a shit. It's your hobby. Do what you want.
It's like don't
care.
My favourite thing about Space Marines is they've got a gland that if they eat people's brains, they can see their memories. It's got the remembrance of that. It's got a specific name, but I can't remember off the top of my head right this minute. And that's a really cool piece of lore. Like they can learn about their enemies by eating them. If Games Workshop just said they don't have that anymore, or it does something different now, I'd be a little bit annoyed. But I don't think I'd go on the internet and rage about it.
Yeah, but even then, right? Here's the thing. Even then, if they did say that, why do yours need to lose that gland? Why can't yours still have that in your narrative? Yeah. It's your hobby. Why can't yours still have that gland?
Yeah, they're all full of glands.
So for me personally, I'm not a person who would ever want to build, make, or utilise female custodians in my lore, because as far as I'm aware, there's established law out there that in the past that has said they're only born from males. If they change that law, I don't care. They've changed established law. I can still go down. I can still go. No, I'm still going to keep as is. I don't have to believe. I don't have to follow their narrative path.
Yeah,
I don't have to do that. If I then get to a tabletop at a competitive tournament and someone turns up with female custodians or whatever it is, maybe someone's completely kit-bashed and converted female Space Marines. It's your hobby. Do what you want. Enjoy it, and don't let anyone else tell you can't. And anyone who tells you can't is probably. There's probably underlying issues there, to be honest with you. And does it mean that I have to love the concept of female Space Marines or female custodians or anything like that? No, I don't have to love that. I'm not. And everyone seems to nowadays operate in such extremes, Joe.
Yeah.
Everyone has to be fully on one side or fully on the other side. Yeah. Why can't you just be sit in the ambivalent middle and be like, I don't want female Space Marines. If you want to build them, you crack on. Yeah. Why can't people just sit in that middle space?
Internet has no place for common sense.
No, it's always extremes, isn't it?
You can't live here. You'll get lynched, you know?
Yeah,
you'll get rolled up in a body bag and thrown off a fish.
I don't get it.
Sleep with the fishes.
Someone's asked what the change is. Specifically, there's a sentence around the Craft Worlds page, which looks like this in the Aeldari Codex. The first sentence of the main paragraph, of the first paragraph after the sort of subtext says, the wraithbone substance from which each craft world is wrought is a composite material formed of various compounds, ores, and minerals. It is as much grown as it is forged. Specialist Aeldari psychers known as bone singers can subtly manipulate wraithbone, encouraging it to grow and expand into the shape they require. The craft worlds are the finest surviving examples of this wondrous craft.
If I'm totally honest, right? Isn't that what it's always been?
No, so previously it wasn't a compound ore or mineral. It was just psychoactive material that the wraithseers, not the wraithseers, the bone singers grew. But now it was like a psychoplastic, right? Yeah. But now it says it's a composite material, which means it's formed of multiple things. Yeah. I'm sure you know what a composite material is. Formed of various compounds, ores, and minerals, right? But the bone singers still interact with it. They haven't got away. But that's a specific change. And this is the other thing as well. For most people, they're going to go, well, what's the difference?
Well, that's me. I'm pretty sure that's what it's always like. In my head, I thought that's what it was. Just like a bunch of people that really like growing stuff just played a flute and a big old bone wall grew. You know, it was made of stuff.
All time with Joe.
And I was like, couldn't care less. Like, to me, that's just kind of boring. You know, I'm like Drakari. Like their walls are made out of metal and people.
Awful Gamer says, what do they grow it from prior? Literally psychic energy. It was grown out of psychic energy in the past.
But at the same time, I feel that's wrong for them. Because Eldar spent so long trying to stay away from the warp and use psychic influence and just like use the runes of fate and stuff that they wouldn't want to manipulate loads of the raw warp because Sinesh would come in and diddle them.
There's an argument to suggest that by having what it was before, it was completely unreplicatable by any other faction.
Yeah.
And now, if you're going to make it a composite material born out of ores and minerals, etc., arguably another faction could mimic the material, which is not entirely true though, because you still require a bone singer to grow and manipulate and develop it. So I don't think it actually changes anything personally. I don't think it really makes any difference.
Now I
at
just
all.
got ideas of these, like, you know, like when they want to make shrubs that are in like the shapes of animals.
Oh, shrubbery!
And they're like, they have like a big wire mesh shape that they do properly first, and they put the tree in the middle, and it grows, and they have to like cut around it to make it. Is that what they do with the houses? Like, does someone have to go around and prune all these bone houses?
Yes.
Yeah.
That could be your job.
Yeah.
Sean says, not sure what the issue is. It's all just elf bullshit. Anyway, you'll be very proud of me, Sean. This weekend, whilst playing Index Eldar, every time I could do something a bit silly or a bit crazy, what I do nowadays, because of you specifically, I just refer to it as elf bullshit. I'm going to reroll that because elf bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to reroll that.
A lot of people cowards.
Going to reroll that because of CP. Going to reroll that because elf bullshit. Yeah. So there we go. There's going to be, I think you're not entirely incorrect. I think over the coming months, maybe years, there's going to be lots more little tweaks and changes. I think some of it is to make it more mainstream accessible. I think that's going to change. Yeah. But if we move into the second part of what this stream's all about as well, do you think there's too much expectancy from the gaming audience or the gaming portion of this hobby? There's too much expectancy to have all of the lore, and I'm going to gently point a finger at you right now, to have all of the lore represented on the tabletop all of the time for a company that potentially doesn't have the capacity to do that. Now, I'm saying this because you brought this book to the table. Do you want to tell the people why you brought this book to the table, Joe?
I brought this book to the table, and this is a conversation that's already been started by another channel, but I was talking about it first, but I wasn't allowed to because of NDAs. I was just shouting at Liam about it.
Anyway, literally has been as well.
Because they took away something at the start of 10th edition, which you nearly got us cancelled about. Within 30 seconds of the stream start.
I did not.
You said a bad word, right? At the company that gives us the free things. And I got scared, right? That we would lose the free things.
You did get scared.
Right? They took away Horus Heresy from Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines.
They took away Heresy models.
Heresy models, right? Yeah. Which didn't hurt Space Marines so much because Space Marines have loads and loads of things. But it really hurt Chaos Space Marines because it's like they still, like in the lore, they're kind of still using all the stuff. There's like a Night Lord's books where they've still got contempt to dreadnoughts.
Well, let's just talk about transports, for example. Transports are an important part of the game, right? And as a Chaos Space Marine player, you have access to Rhino Land Raider.
Yeah.
Right? As an Imperial player, you've got access to Rhino, Razorback, Land Raider, Land Raider Redeemer, Land Raider Crusader, Impulsor, Repulsor, Drop Pod, Storm Raven.
Yeah.
And I've probably
Thunderhawk.
I probably missed some there as well, right?
Yeah.
So with 10 transports on our hand already, and as Chaos Space Marines, you've got Rhino Land Raider.
Yeah.
That's it. But what you used to have was the 2 different Heresy drop pods.
Yeah.
A Spartan, at least.
Yeah.
At least we're at 5 then. You know? At least we're at 5.
The drill. Boo, termite.
The termite drill, yeah, which I used to have.
Yeah. You had 3 of them, I'm pretty sure.
I think I had 2.
But they were spuds.
Yeah. But so you used to have access to more, and I think that Heresy era models in Chaos Space Marine armies are A, more narratively believable, but 2, meant that you often came up against more interesting lists.
Yeah.
Decimators were a thing, and Leviathan,
Well, the thing is, though,
and et cetera.
Decimators were 40k at this point.
Well, yeah, here's another law change, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Decimators were 40k, Brass Scorpions were 40k.
Yeah.
Blood Slaughterers were 40k.
Yeah. The Kaitan.
40k. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All 40k. And Games Workshop were like, nah, don't have them anymore. All Heresy.
Yeah.
Which led to a very ranty stream.
It was a very ranty stream, yeah.
But one of the things that went away that's still very, 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 very much in the narrative was the Dreadclaw drop pod.
Dreadclaw drop pod, yeah.
Right? Which is, like Space Marines have, a drop pod. But it can fly. And basically, it's how Chaos Space Marines like attack ships because they fire them and they latch on, right? They also had like the Ursi's claws and things as well. But the Dreadclaw drop pod, very, very much alive in the narrative. Right, and they got rid of it. They said, no, it was an heresy. So basically, I guess Chaos Space Marines just fired a Rhino at a planet from a spaceship, and that's how they got there. Mm-hmm. But then this book came out. This book.
And it's on the table because
In it,
I like how you moved your microphone with your face then.
yeah, it's next to my face.
Yeah.
Use all the appendages. It won't be hard to find because it's a really big fucking picture. He says,
Arkignor, what are you referring to, bud? Because Super Chat's come through delayed, and before I get to read it out later, I just want to make sure I get
here's
the
a
context
small
right.
version of it.
Yeah, it says a drop pod right there for
that?
chaos. Yeah.
They talk about using Dreadclaw drop pods to get onto the planets. Where is it? I should have prepared and put a little thing in here.
Well, I mean, I don't think...
There it is. Back again.
Massive photo.
Massive picture of it.
Dreadclaw
Talk about
drop
it
pod.
loads. And there's also in here...
These microphones are pretty good. You can have it like here and it's fine.
Right over here.
No, maybe not that far.
Okay. In the book are pictures of Night Lord's Raptors, Night Lord's Warp Talons, Night Lord's Terminators, Night Lord's Tanks, kind of thing. And we just don't have that. You know, I think Chaos Space Marines arguably have more random, elaborate armor than normal Space Marines, right? But each legion has its very own aesthetic compared to how each of the Space Marine legions have their own. Space Marine legions we're a different colour, we have a different shoulder pad icon, we maybe have a cloak, or we have a tabard, you know, or sometimes we've got Greek or Roman etchings on it. Whereas, like, Night Lords, very specifically, lots of bats, lots of skulls, fancy helmets, you know, stuff like that. And I just don't feel like it's not going on in 40k. And then we get these books full of it. They're like, by the way, this all exists. You can't have it, but it exists. And that's really grips my poo.
But
That
again,
was a watered down version of my shout rant.
But again, if we think about the Eldar change or other changes,
Yeah.
maybe even the Custodian's book change, do you not also, similarly at the same time, go, maybe we're going to get a plastic Dreadclaw? Does that not make you think that?
There's also a massive poster in here. It's really cool. It does, because of the popularity of the Night Lord's kill team, because it won Mod of the Year, didn't it? Right. I think Games Workshop's gone, maybe people do care about Chaos Space Marines.
Well, I mean, this would have been printed long before it won Models of the
It won
Year.
that, but I think they would have gone, maybe they're like building up. Because I think like Night Lords are one of the more chaos army factions in terms of like torturing people, big murder pits, you know. And I think they've gone, we took this thing away, let's see if people are interested about it. Maybe let's bring it back. Let's give Chaos more tools.
So I know
with.
we already have the Chaos Space Marine Codex,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't surprise me in the future, even if it's the next edition, which, let's face it, is probably now 18 months away.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if we had plastic Dreadclaws return to 40k.
So this is a conversation we've had a few little times, right? Is that 10th edition has been an edition of loss. I've said it before. I think a lot of things have gone, right? But 10th edition comes at a time of Games Workshop's great expansion, right?
Yeah,
they're taking on
the
more
tower
land,
right now.
right? They're putting out loads of new products. They're making new factories in different countries. You know, supply chains are changing. And it's very evident outside of Old World, or petition that, is that every game system they're doing, apart from Horus Heresy special characters, which are Forge World held, no more resin, no more metal, all plastic. Right, so I think 10th edition is there. Let's tidy things up, renew some of the things that have to come across from resin to plastic. Aspect Warriors, for instance, because they're a core part of the army. You know, let's tidy things up and then release the things that need to be released in 10th edition. And then, like Space Marines, for example, outside of Assault Terminators and Vanguard Vets, what needs to be redone?
Do you think the significant reduction in things like resin and fine cast, etc. I mean, fine cast is a material that should have never gone to production in the first instance. But do you think the significant reduction of things like resin and fine cast is actually potentially sort of correlated to the emergence of other gaming companies, 3D printing.
Yeah.
And Games Workshop were going, cool, everyone can make resin now.
Yeah.
We can literally make resin next door.
Yeah.
We can make a model now, right? So what sets us apart is the quality of our plastic kits.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to put all of our focus on.
Yeah. So I think 11th edition, all this stuff that's gone away, not all of it, because they're going to have to stagger it because they have to make money.
Of course. Because on a quarterly reporting period as well.
So that stuff, I think, is going to start coming back.
Okay.
So, for example, there's the not Salamanders supplement codex that everyone's talking about. The buzz, the hype, I'm convinced it's not a Salamanders book. I'm convinced in my head it's Space Marine Codex supplement or Codex 2.0.
Okay.
Right. So this is where we get Lysander back, but in plastic, and we get plastic assault terminators. This is where we get plastic Volkistan, right? Because you want to go into the new edition with stuff refreshed, new plastics in the line. This is where we get Vanguard vets, but this is maybe where we get plastic Cantor.
I think that's too much stuff.
I think we'll get a bunch of remade characters, and then like supplemental detachment rules for each of the factions.
Okay.
So you go, here is a actual proper Raven Guard detachment. Here's an actual proper White Scars detachment. Here's your proper Imperial Fist one. And they go, maybe you don't get Oath of Moment. Maybe you get this.
I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think Space Marine players have already got so much access to so much stuff already.
But I think... So what we saw this weekend, I think there's going to be... I think there's... Games Workshop's going to be slowly pulling back that nerf back at the moment for Space Marines. Specifically, the Blood Angels Grotmus detachment, but I think it's a coming.
I don't see it happening. I think what we normally see happen is towards the end of an edition, they wind the edition up with some narrative, some extra books, some campaign stuff. End of 9th edition, we saw what was the game mode we were playing? The
thing
space battles. Space.
Boarding actions. But what we also got at the end of 9th edition was the Augustus box set, which came with the Brutalis, the Desolation Marines, the plastic.
Yeah, okay.
Lieutenant.
So, but there's still only a couple of extra units.
Yeah, so we might get a new box set, which is Terminators, Vanguard.
I categorically will go on record as saying I don't think it will be another Space Marine Codex. Maybe there might be a new unit or two with some extra rules. But I can see it being a campaign book to wind down 10th.
Or it won't be a Codex. It'll be a Codex supplement, but Codex Space Marines in the sense of like the Codex appliance Space Marines, so the ones that are in the book.
Okay.
So I think, because I don't think Games Workshop are going to go, here is Codex Salamanders, here's Fire Drakes, here's Pyroclasts, here's Vulcan.
Yeah, no, I don't think they will either. I think the new rules team are doing a good job right now, and I think by breaking all of the Loyalist chapters into their individual supplements would be an absolute rules nightmare in terms of balance, etc.
Because I think like so what we saw this weekend, right, is the Space Marines that were doing well are what now affectionately called Bloodless Angels. That was the term being thrown around. I actually quite like it. I thought it was quite funny.
Bloodless Angels. Why were they called Bloodless Angels, Joe?
Because everyone was playing Blood Angels, but they had no Blood Angels characters or models or units.
Because the Grotmus attachment is so fucking good.
Yeah, it's like, why would I not change it? And why would I not take it? Because Games Workshop's ruling specifically for Oath of Moment says if you have Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Black Templars, Space Wolves, or Death Watch units in your army, you get reroll hit rolls. If you have none of those things, you get +1 to wound.
Yeah.
All right. The Blood Angels detachment. So when you go to a tournament, you are registered as a Blood Angels player, but you have no Blood Angels units or models. But you can't, at the same time, you can't take Lysander, you can't take Vulcan, but you have therefore the best attachment for Space Marines ever, because you get to fall back, shoot, and charge. You get to reroll, hit roll, and wound rolls of 1. If it's a character unit, so you just put characters in there. So all your units are up really good, and you just have access to really good strats. But the problem is now, is that every Iron Hands, Salamanders, Raven Guard player is going to events and registering as Blood Angels. And they're all running Desolation Marines, because Desolation Marines are turbo in that detachment. That's why they're everywhere again. So,
but specifically because you oath a target,
Yeah.
the Desolation Marines, it doesn't matter that they hit on 4s now because they reroll all hits. And
Yeah.
you spend a CP for sustained.
Yeah.
So you reroll all hits for sustained hits.
Yeah.
You get +1 a wound.
yeah, and you put a Librarian in the unit, so they all have a 4+ vulnerable save as well, which gives them the character, the unit, the character keyword as well.
So you get +1 a wound rerolling ones.
Yeah, and you give them sustained hits, and you put them on the top floor so they get plunging fire, and they have a special rule where they ignore cover. So when you shoot indirectly, they still get AP1, but if they're on the top floor, they get plunging fire. So they shoot indirectly at AP2, hitting on 4s, re-rolling. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to see Games Workshop lock down detachments. So you only get +1 to wound if you're using Codex Space Marines.
Detachments.
Detachments.
Which personally I think is
But-
what they should have done from the beginning.
Without the character, but at the same time, the units as well. So if you take Gladius Task Force and you have Blood Angels units and models, you still don't get
Do you
+1
not?
to
I
wound.
was legitimately surprised at the very beginning when Dark Angels could still run Gladius, and that I was like, why? Why would I not take Dark Angels attachments? And so far, I've only ever run Dark Angels and Dark Angels attachments, especially on stream. And that's what we're pretty much always going to do here on the channel. But I was like, why would I run them as Gladius? Because I should run Dark Angels attachments, get Dark Angels things, and do Dark Angel-y stuff. And I think that from the beginning, it should have been made clear that if you're Templars, you take a Templars attachment. If you're Blood Angels, you take a Blood Angels attachment. And if you're Codex Space Marines, you take a Codex Space Marines attachment.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't surprise me if they do that. I also think it should have been there from the start.
I think they have to wait specifically for the Codex supplements to come out. So if you're a Black Templars player now, to say Space Marines have access to 11 detachments, but you can only use 1 is a bit rough. Whereas like a Blood Angels player has access to 4 now.
But circling back to the topic, though, is this just a you and me problem whereby we want narrative to be reflected on the tabletop, and therefore it makes you sad when you see a Blood Angels attachment with not a single Blood Angels unit in it, or conversely, it makes you sad when you see a Gladius attachment with a lion running around? Going back to your issue with models, it pictured in certain graphics and artwork, which, by the way, the artwork is stunning.
So this is a narrative problem that I want to see come back, and I accept it won't happen until next edition, is that I am a bit of a purist, and I do want the narrative to be reflected in the game. Like, I want my Space Marines to be able to have Chaos Space Marines to have Dreadclaw drop pods, because that's what they have. Like, Space Marines get to play with all the toys that they have in the narrative, bar 1 or 2 Forge-World size flying ships that will be unusable. But it's like, why can't I have a Dreadclaw drop pod? Why can't I have a Khitan? Right? Why can't I have these demon units in a book? Why in the Fall of Cadia does Abaddon walk up a hill being shot at by 6 companies of Imperial Guard with artillery and Space Marine support and just walk through it like rain? Yet on the table, a 100-point character will just yeet him across the table.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why does he have 0 survivability on the table when in like, why isn't he more like the Lion? Why isn't he more like Gilliman? And I do think that narrative does need to be represented, because I want to be able to play it. Like, I've gone off Blood Angels.
Yeah, I know.
Right? I'm happy for playing, because I didn't start playing Blood Angels because I like the rules and I love Dante. I do like Dante. I like the books and stuff, but like, I collected Blood Angels because I like Flesh Terrors, because I love Seth. That's like I've said. It's like I collect that because I like the narrative of Seth, and I thought the reason I had the army. I didn't care about Sangard. I didn't really care about Death Company. I just cared about running around chopping stuff up with Seth.
Yeah.
And they got rid of it, and I'm like, oh, like they've got the best attachment in the game. They've got the best combat units in the game. And like playing competitively and playing the army, it's fun, but it's not. Doesn't feel the same.
There's other narrative changes that have occurred as well, which you know, I say narrative changes. There's other changes that have happened that are misaligned with narrative, is what I should say. Yeah. Which has impacted me in some purchases that I've made, and I've been like, yeah, cool, whatever. I'm just genuinely curious about it, because, like, for example, Yunari in the new Codex has the Drakari units that you can take are no longer called Drakari Succubus. It's now a Ynnari Succubus, and Ynnari Archon and Ynnari Cabalite Warriors, which is fine. And I, you know what, I somewhat expected them to trim down what Ynnari players could run as Drakari units inside their Codex, rather than having carte blanche access to everything bar homunculus coverings. But there's some stuff they've done that doesn't make sense narratively.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever listened to the Lilith Harespect sort of short
you can't
story.
run Lilith.
You can't run Lilith in the Ynnari book
It's
anymore.
and also by having Ynnari witches, they have different rules, right? But it doesn't mean. But in the books, they still act like Drakari, right? They still function like on the battlefield, like how they would anywhere else. But they're just supporting, what's her name? The lady with the cat. Yvraine?
Yvraine. Well done, mate.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, so they're there supporting Yvraine, but they're still very much Drakari. Whereas in the new book, they're just Ynnari Drakari. They're just Ynnari.
Well, there's the other
witches,
thing as well,
Ynnari
isn't there?
Camelites.
So I'm not sure if you're aware, but if you take Ynnari, you have to run Yvraine or the Incarn as your warlord. If you run Yvraine, it specifically states that with the exception of basically the Vizarka and the Incarn, you can't take any other epic heroes.
Yeah.
So you can't take any of the Phoenix Lords.
Yeah.
If you run Ynnari, it's just a weird. And I get this is one of those things where I'm kind of torn. On the one hand, Jane Zar's been involved with Ynnari. I think Karandras has been involved with Ynnari, although he's obviously not in the book anymore. Lilith has been very involved with the Ynnari, with Ninkan and with Yvraine and what she's doing. But yeah, the book now says you can't take any of these things. Now, from a narrative perspective, it doesn't make any sense. But from a rules perspective, I kind of get it, because it potentially could create broken combinations that you want to avoid.
Yeah.
So by limiting the number of units you can take, I sort of understand why they've done it. But again, it's one of those where I looked at it and I wanted to bake Ynnari. My paint scheme was based on me looking at Ynnari colour schemes and all kinds of stuff when I designed the black and red and what have you. And then I bought Lilith and what's his name? Drazar, because I think they're both gorgeous Drakari models. And now what I'm probably going to have to do is have a separate Drakari army at some point rather than running Ynnari, because I look at all the Ynnari data sheets and I'm like, I don't see why I take any of these over any of the Eldar stuff.
Yeah. They're just,
I
like the concept that the Drakari units function better in a Drakari army. You know? I like the idea that they like you get more rules and access to more things in a full Drakari army than you do a Ynnari army. But at the same time, they shouldn't just be flat worse.
Yeah, so and this is where I look at the Drakari units in general, and I played a wonderful human on Game 5 on Sunday who played Drakari, and it played the detachment that got released where you get Lance, when you get out trans. And I was like, I'd just play that. It's just better than the Ynnari stuff.
Well, it's like 8-arm Sapper says, Qatari Rangers are the most accurate snipers in the galaxy, hits on fours.
Yeah.
It's like the Rust Stalkers and Infiltrators in the books, like in the Black Library books, like 3 Infiltrators will go into an Orc camp where there's like 40 Orc boys and like a knob and murder all of them, because they're these like crazy enhanced metal assassins that can see like binary code and the movements and could judge everything and stab super precisely. On the table, they couldn't fall off a flat raft.
So this is the thing, isn't it? I want some narrative-based representation on the tabletop, and I want things to feel like they should feel like. I think, for example, the Eldar Codex has done an incredible job of making them feel like what I think Eldar should be. They hit hard, they're incredibly lethal and very accurate, but they won't stand up to a stiff breeze. I think that's correct. I think that's what they should be. But I also think that as a community in general, there is a significant... I think I would argue that I think there's too much pressure on GW to be exactly like it is in the lore. And actually, if you made the tabletop game exactly as it is in the lore, there'd be wild amounts of imbalance. And then you'd complain about how much imbalance there is.
Oh yeah, but at the same time, there needs to be like a line in the sand, in the sense that, like, yes, a Custodes cannot be like a lore-accurate Custodes, because then you'd have 4 models on the table, which is great. So that's why we've kind of got the Custodes in the sense they are as functioning army. But when you say in your books and you say in the codexes, these are an elite thing, right? Like, this is an elite combat unit, it shouldn't hit on 4s. it should hit on 3s.
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
yeah,
thing.
okay.
Or
I take your point, but I just think that I do think that we put too much pressure on it being exactly or accurate, and we have this like weird swing scale, don't we? Where we're like, it needs to be more lore accurate, make it more lore accurate. Games Workshop go, cool. Here's loads of lore accurate stuff. You're like, oh, it's wildly imbalanced. We need to be more balanced. Like, cool. We're going to remove this lore accurate stuff and make it more balanced. Oh, it's too boring. We need more lore accurate. Cool.
Well,
That's what it is.
What we need is, I think Games Workshop needs to reevaluate what their baseline stat in the game is.
Okay. Because their baseline stat was built when you couldn't have anything over 10.
So yeah, it's baseline stat. We could have anything over 10. The baseline stat of an elite infantry model was a Space Marine, which was toughness 4, strength 4, 1 wound, right?
And typically hit on 3s.
A hit on 3s, had armor save of 3+, and it had a bolt gun that shot 1 or 2 shots at strength 4 at AP 5. So if it shot a guardsman, it would kill it. But if you shot a guardsman in carapace armor, it still had a 4-up save. That's your elite of the elite kind of unit. Custos didn't exist. Knights didn't exist, right? And
there was nothing over a statistic of 10.
Yeah,
right.
If your opponent put 1 Carnifex on the table, those things were legit terrifying, right? Because those things had 4 attacks and 3 wounds.
Yeah.
Right. And when it fought you, it had an AP of 2. So if you had a 2-up save or higher, you didn't get a save. You only had a save. You had like an invulnerable save. So those things would go in and they might kill 2 or 3 Terminators, and that's a huge loss to your army. Whereas now, if I put a unit of 2 Carnifexes and old One Eye on the table, I'm like, things will get deleted in seconds. Because the baseline of the game now is like toughness 5, 3 wounds, 3-up armor save, 4-up invuln.
Yeah.
And the combat fighting stat is strength 6 -2, damage 2.
Well, I played a Chaos Knight player game 1, Caleb, who was in chat last night, and he charged his Knight Abominant, the melee one, in and didn't kill all of the Wraithguard. I then fell 5 Wraithguard out of combat and charged the 10 Wraithguard in and killed it in one go. And I'm like, that. I mean, there was. So I think I probably rolled about average. He rolled slightly below average for saving throws, to give some credit where credit's due. So logically, in a world of maths, it shouldn't have died, but it did. And I think we're talking about a 24 wound, toughness 12, 3-up, 5-up model.
Yeah.
Like, imagine putting that thing on the table back in like 7th edition. But it didn't at that point. I had 5 hull points. Yeah, that's what you had to do, was get through 5 wounds. Yeah, and it was hard to do.
It's like on the weekend, I ran a Hive Tyrant and 3 Tyrant Guard, 5 Gene Stealers, and a Broodlord into 3 8-bound, and I killed 1.
Yeah.
Right? And it was just like, they should be dead.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any coming back from that. The Hive Tyrant on its own should have been perfectly fine.
Yep.
So I think, like, because the stats are so wildly all over the place, so I think, like, they need to calm some things down. So when the Space Marine was the base stat line, a Chapter Master had 3 wounds.
Well,
Abaddon had 3 wounds.
The other thing as well is, because I think you're right, I'll be honest with you, but the other problem as well is, like, I was running an army this weekend and it was index granted, but where not a single model on my table didn't have an invulnerable save. The AP system at the moment is relatively pointless because everything's got there's invulnerables everywhere.
Yeah, everyone's got a 4-up invuln save and a 4-up or a 5-up invuln save. I think that was like a bottle popping because of the heat. But it's like everyone's got a 4-up or a 5-up invuln save and everything's AP 2. So it's like, everyone, like, the best save in the game at the moment is 4 or 5-up.
Yeah.
Custodes never get their 2-up armor save. Very rarely.
Yeah, they're on 4-ups.
Yeah. And when you look in the Codex, you're like, oh, like I'm currently going through a system of reevaluating how I play with Chaos Space Marines. Right, I was sat there last night going through the book.
Here it comes, chap.
Right, and I've come to terms with the fact that I might have to start playing like Paddy with Chaos Space Marines.
Well,
ow, playing differently, different play style, right? But when I look in the book, I'm like, everything's AP 1. I don't want to take AP1 guns because that's terrible. Because if my opponent has a millimeter of their base touching the base of a building or the outside wall of a building, they are technically in cover. So their save gets better and my gun gets worse. Why would I want to take those kind of thing? And it's like, and that's on like a Predator tank, for instance. So it's like a Predator tank shouldn't be worried about killing things. When in this game, you're like, why is this massive like Bushmaster cannon shooting at infantry or shooting at medium tanks and doing nothing kind of thing? Like I want to go back to a time where there were no knights. Like when the scariest thing is your opponent goes, here is a Predator tank, here is a dreadnought, be scared of me.
Yeah.
You know, instead of like, here's 12 baby knights, I'm just going to make sure you have a really miserable time.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there's other things as well, isn't it? If you think about it, like a Terminator has a 4-up invulnerable save and 3 wounds, and granted he's toughness 5, but a Dire Avenger Exarch is toughness 3 with 2 wounds, but has a 4-up invulnerable save. I think it's too. I think it's too much invulnerable in the game.
Yeah.
I think it's far too much invulnerable in the game.
Yeah, there was a time where it was like literally Terminators and characters had invulnerable saves, and that was about it.
Should be rarer.
Yeah.
Right. Lots of people have stuck super chats in, stuck postcards into us. We're going to jump into the fan funding now, and Joe can start reading it out for us. We also are on, you wonderful humans, 37 of the finest gifted members so far. So thank you so much, you beautiful people. If you really want to support the channel, there's a number of ways you can do it. There's a number of ways you can support Joe and I here. You can become a member all by yourself if you're already a grey name. If you've been gifted one, you can choose to upgrade to a higher level, and there's lots of tiers. The Thanes will tell you that's the best place to be. Or one of the best ways to support us, genuinely, is by gifting memberships. So you give other people the opportunity to come and join in Discord and get access to the perks of being a Great Hall member, at which point some people often afterwards, after they've been gifted once or twice, go, I want to keep this myself, and they take it out themselves. So it's gifted membership, which is hugely important to us for a number of reasons. Number one, it's obviously revenue and income, which is insane, but also it's because it gives other people that peek behind the curtain, and a lot of people then choose to keep it up themselves, which obviously helps the business grow. We're going to try and grow this year, and maybe we'll be able to bring someone else in, like Tom or something. I'm not sure. So thank you very, very much. If you do give 5 or more, you will get yourself a wonderful Joe Hope. I noticed that the first one is 20 gifted.
Thank you, Will Stewart, for 20 gifted. I hope for the rest of your life, whenever you cook pizzas in your home oven, they don't get that horrible wateriness on the top, but also they don't stick to the pan, the tray.
What's this horrible wateriness you're speaking of?
Sometimes if you cook frozen pizzas, like, they just seem a bit soggy on the top, don't they?
If you turn the oven on?
Yeah, obviously. And like the outside will be burnt, the crust will be burnt, and then in the middle will just be a bit soggy.
I don't really
You
have
know?
that.
Or like there's the ones where there's like, you know, the takeaway ones with the stuffed crust where for some reason it decides it'll just stick to the tray. And you have to basically just carve it off, and then you just have this, you don't have a pizza, you just have like a pile of just mess. I hope all your pizzas just cook perfectly every time.
Strong.
Yeah.
What I saw today was an advert for KFC where they're doing a double stack zinger.
Oh, really?
Two zinger bits, two bits of zinger chicken in one burger. And I was like, oh, should I go and eat properly from the shop, or should we go KFC?
KFC does sound nice, you know me. I'll never.
I think we should probably eat properly from the shop, though.
Probably.
It's probably what we should do. Thank you anyway,
Because
Will.
the Dragon says, I know this soggy pizza shame.
Thank you anyway, Will, for the 20 gifted man. You're a legend.
Thank you. He said, my oven's like terrible. Top bit, too hot. Middle bit, too cold.
Is it electric?
Yeah.
One of your elements might have gone.
Yeah, probably. But we only had it replaced like.
The elements that sit in the sides, they can burn through, and
Yeah.
then the heat doesn't obviously go all the way through.
Yeah.
So
It's a bit annoying.
the elements might have gone.
Thank you, Muggy says 5 mins on an Arbiter Ian or Jordan sorcery video will show you that the lore has changed constantly since the beginning of Warhammer.
I mean, it has, yeah.
Yeah, it has, yeah. They change it all the time. Like, look at the end of the death in Horus Heresy.
Spoilers.
That's why I'm not going to spoil it. But, like, who fights in the throne? Like, we never had the official story, but there was always, like... It was like the unwritten truth everyone kind of knew.
Yeah.
That kind of things. And they changed bits of it and they added things and new characters were brought in and killed off. Like they're gonna keep doing it, and And obviously, the authors of the narrative for each codex would be slightly different each time.
Ash says there's no bloody bun with that, though. It's just 2 pieces of meat. I'm failing to see the problem. I don't understand what the issue is.
I don't see what the problem is.
What's the issue, mate? Yeah, you're right. They change the narrative all the time.
Yeah, and and each codex will be written by someone different who might have a different concept of the narrative. And like Liam said, is like they might have to change something because they want it to be different in the future. They're going to release something in a narrative that needs to be based off of whatever that is.
Yeah.
Do you want me to say that one now?
You can.
Thank you, Rollerbane, for the $49.99, which is about like
£6.
£6 English money in it.
Yeah.
For the KFC. Thank you, Rollerbane.
You're a legend, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll probably still eat healthy.
Someone did that for
Exclamation mark gift.
for Exocrines, didn't they, last week?
No, they didn't, did they?
Wink, 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 wink. Yeah.
No, they didn't.
They did.
I don't think they did.
When I said I need the Exocrine amnesty.
I think there was an X-Cream fund of like £5, Jay.
£50.
Is it?
It was.
I don't think that's true.
I think it was the exact amount of money to buy an
I
Exocrine.
don't think that's true. It's also not the exact amount of money to buy an X-Screen because that's £50 that it shows on screen and then YouTube takes 30%.
Yeah.
So.
Just send Exocrines.
Just send X-Screens, chat. Just send X-Screens. Don't send X-Screens. Don't send any money. Just send X-Screens and then Joe won't get his money next month.
Yeah. And I was talking to Paddy last night because you know what happens is like Paddy, he doesn't send you one message, he sends you like 47 sentences, doesn't he? Separate
messages, yeah, I like it, yeah.
It's fine, apart from when you're trying to do something, it's like just going off all the time. But he's like, we were talking about the idea of when me and him play on stream next, we'll do like our revised tournament armies.
Okay.
It's like from Beachhead, but like how we would have changed
Mine's
it.
revised only because I've got a new codex.
Yeah.
I actually haven't got to make now, I've got to paint models for it, basically.
Yeah. And I realised that I really like my Hive Tyrants the way they are with the Bone Sword and Lash Whip, and then the twin Scything Talons. I'm probably going to have to go Venom Cannon, Lash Whip, Bone Sword.
Oh, really? Why?
Just because there are times in a man's life when he needs to kill some little goober that's ran off somewhere to do a thing.
Yeah.
You know, like a little one model, and I'm like, I can't deal with you because I got no guns because I don't like using guns because they're for druids. But there are times when you do need a gun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I need to put like some guns in my army.
I want to start playtesting my new tournament list soon.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it today. I was tired and irritable. But I'd like to play with it. I'd like to playtest with it soon, Joe, because I'm not sure if it's any good. Because what I found out this last weekend was the 2 10-man Wraithblade blobs did a lot of work in securing me in the middle of the board. A lot of work, securing me in the middle of the board and just staying there and being a nuisance. And I've got rid of them because you can't take 10-man blobs anymore, and you can't take Fortune, and they're now toughness 6 to toughness 7, so they just die significantly faster. People were having no dramas this weekend picking up 5 when they're toughness 7 with -1 a wound. So now that they're toughness 6 with no -1 a wound, people will find it very easy to wipe the whole unit out.
Yeah. Do you know what I really, really missed this weekend? And I use these stratagems a lot. There's 2 stratagems I really missed playing Tyranids. Grenade, tank shock. I don't realise how often I use them.
We do
until I play Tyranids, which have access to neither. Because they're such incredible, useful tools. Like I was talking to Balin, who's like a new player, and Will. Is it Will? Who's it? Dan.
It's like Will, but one more.
It's like Will, but entirely different letters.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And different sounds.
It's like Will, but not a single letter the same, all the letters same length.
Yeah.
It is one syllable, though. There you go.
And I was saying to them, as new players, right, and you're doing some of the tournaments, like, and they're like, oh, I'm struggling to kill stuff. I'm like, every turn, if you got CP, grenade, tank shock, grenade, tank shock. There's only 2 strats you need to care about, right? And they'll see you through.
I didn't realise until I think it was my 4th game that Striking Scorpions had the grenade keyword. Because a lot of stuff in the old book didn't have the grenade keyword.
Yeah.
So I think they're not Scorpions. Was it Scorpions? No. It was something else. It might have been the Autarch had the grenade keyword. I didn't realise.
It's such a useful stratagem to deal with things. And I was like, oh, I use these things so often and now I can't use them. It's really... And I was looking for the book. I was like, something here must have it. And I was like, lictors surely must have the grenade keyword because they used to have flesh hooks, didn't they? No.
Cool.
Made me sad. But yeah, so I'm gonna have a little play around with my list, I think. And then Paddy sent me his one, and I was like, I can't compete with that.
So wait, so you're sticking Tyranids, you think? Or do you think you might change it up?
I might change it up. I'm going to keep playing with Tyranids more. But you know me. I say I'm done with Chaos Space Marines. I'm going to put them down. I'm going to slide them under the rug and never look at them.
Well,
but, right, I will herald in the triple Helldrake meta.
It will be interesting to see what you do or what they look like when Emperor Children finally come out as well.
Yeah, so
if they're good, they might do everything you want Chaos
I've
to do.
been wanting to do Emperor's Children for a long time, but I just didn't have the money to buy Forge World. Like, I'm not going to spend 70, 80 quid on a unit of 5 Noise Marines that are literally like a third of the size of a Primaris Marine. They're teeny weeny, right? I'm not going to spend crazy money. So I've always been like, I'll just wait and see what comes. So I'm very, very excited about running them, like for the potential of running Space Marines, but a little bit different. But I have been sat there looking at Chaos Space Marines, kind of talking with Paddy about how he's been doing his lists, looking at the lists that have been at events. And I'm like, obviously I do have to bend a bit with my thinking, right? I'm not going to go down all tanks. I'm not going to go cultists, but, you know, I might have more tanks in my list, kind of thing. Not all tanks, maybe more.
I think it's important to bend your thinking,
yeah,
to be honest.
Look at the different detachments and be like, well, how can I make how I like to play kind of fit in this detachment?
So I get excited about some of the Chaos Space Marine stuff that's out there, and then I don't just love the models. So, you know. But
CJ, Chaos is my favourite. This is my true love. I am through and through a Chaos Space Marine player. I love, like, they're my favourite faction. Abaddon it's my world. It's my everything. But I have had an emotional roller coaster with them for a while.
I would very much like to legitimately see Joe playing Chaos Space Marines at tournaments, doing well with them and enjoying himself at the same time.
If I wasn't down to do Dark Angel tonight, I was going to try Chaos Space Marines. But we're doing Dark Angel Space Wolves tonight, aren't we?
Dark Angel Space Wolves, yeah. The Wolf versus the Lion. Cool, right, next.
Thank you, Stick Monkey, for 5 gifted memberships. I hope that next time you go to physio, there's Love Lube. Yeah. And they're young and flexible.
That wasn't where I thought that was going.
Yeah.
I don't know where I thought it was going, but it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. It's the best therapy you've ever had.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go, Sean.
Thank you, Live Pallet said bone singers should wear high vis and hard hats with little slits for their knife ears. Osher style. I don't know what that means. As in, I don't know. I do like the idea of them having high vis jackets and hard hats. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah, and there's always going to be.
I'll find an old one, and
there's always there's loads of them in hard hats and high vis, but there's always one in a suit and a high vis, and a suit and a hard hat.
Brom.
Yeah. Supervising, messing everything up,
telling the people that very much know what they're doing how to do it better.
Yeah. And then when all these beautiful curved buildings have square doors, they're like, "What's this? What's this square door?" And we're like, him, Mr. Suits, and he'll be like, "I never said that."
Yeah. You know his job.
Yeah, I never said that.
Yeah,
you did that yourself. You could have said no. That one always grips me. You could have said that. You had the opportunity to say no.
Yeah,
but you did what your boss told you to do.
Yeah. I'm never going to have that argument with you, mate.
Yeah. No.
Because I'm never going to tell you you've got the opportunity to say no.
Yeah.
I'm never going to put that idea in your head.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll be like, "Why did you do what I told you to do?" And I'll be like, "I did do what you told me to do." It's like, "Yeah, but I told you to do something different."
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
It's rectangle with a curve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A curvy rectangle.
Yeah.
A curved tangle.
Yeah. That is what Brom does all day, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, we should do spherical paper. You know? Why aren't all teeth like little light bulbs, you know.
Beautiful. Okay, next, Jay.
Thank you, Lightpad. Oh no, we've done him already. Oh, that's because there's no thing on it. Joe's winning streak. After this weekend, I am pleased to announce I am not completely dead. I almost made an appearance for longer than one game. Let's see if I can turn this month or on stream to get that up to a 2 streak. Well, I won one, lost one, won one. But the guy I lost to was an incredibly good player with an incredibly good army, and I think he went 5-1.
What did you played 5?
I played 5.
1,
2,
lost
3.
3. So you won, lost 1,
Lost.
lost.
But I'm going to be honest, after I lost my first game on Sunday, I was like, I'm not staying for round 6. And then I paired into World Eaters round 5. And I said to him, like, World Eaters are like my Achilles heel. I don't know what it is about World Eaters, but I always struggle into them. He was relatively new to the game. So I showed him how devastating Master of Executions can be. And I was like, this is how you roll your hits, this is how you roll your wounds, and this is how you allocate wounds to absolutely annihilate people's units. And he was like, it took a little bit of a while of explaining, and then he just did it over and over and over again.
Well, you taught him that point.
Well, I taught him, but I was like...
You teach a man to fish, Jay. You expect him to go fishing.
But I like the idea that he goes on, and now he knows how to do that.
And you didn't even charge him for it.
No. And then it was like... And he was like, I might deep strike my 10-meter Terminators. I was like, don't deep strike him. And he was like, why? I was like, because if you do, I'm just going to go everywhere so they can't come in. And they're just lost in space. And then they proceeded to just stand on objective and not let me touch it. But we had an incredible game.
It's weight in gold, right?
Yeah, like and in that matchup, it was the one where like the one goes away and then one's worth more and then that goes away and then the last one. So like we had a really good fun. It was just mutually assured destruction. I was like, I'm going home in a minute. Let's just have a stupid game.
I love those moments.
But it's like, and it was great, and all my opponents were great, and they were loads of fun. And like my approach to kind of like big events like Beachhead or Hellstorm is like, I'm not going to win this event, mainly because I don't care enough.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just going to have fun.
I think that's part of the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
People care too much.
And if you play into someone that is new at the hobby, or it's their first event, or they've only done a couple games, or like doesn't matter what round it is, I think it's important like to make sure that they walk away having learned something about your army. So the world is like never played into Tyranids, didn't know what they did.
Yeah.
So I was like, every turn I'm going to explain to you what my units do. Don't feel afraid to ask questions, you know, right? And we're just going to have fun with it. But if you play into a really competitive player, I'm going to play really competitive. But I'm going to make sure we have loads of fun.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to do stupid shit.
I'm into it, Jay.
Yeah. Also, it's like on the channel, I get to play one army, and then I might not get to play that army again for potentially a month and a half. Right? So I'll play Chaos Space Marines, and then it'll be Guard, and then it'll be Tyranids, and then it'll be Space Marines, and then there'll be another kind of Space Marines, and then it might be something else, and then I might go back to Chaos Space Marines, and then it might be Tyranids. And so at an event, having the opportunity just to play with an army for 5 games in a row, it's actually quite nice.
Mm.
You know?
I mean, I played 4 games.
Yeah.
I won 3, lost 1, but I very much enjoyed it. And I felt like I knew what I was doing. I felt like I knew my rules well, and I wasn't going, hang on, what's that rule? Despite the fact I've actually been playing Codex Eldar. Yeah. So there's a couple of rare occasions where I did check rules, only because I've been playing Codex. I'm like, hang on a minute, am I thinking Codex or Index rule? I need to check. I think, for example, Shining Spears have got a -1 hit. Let me check. Is it Codex or Index rule? Checked. It's Index rule. I am right. It is Index rule. Carry on. It's -1 hit.
Yeah.
Because I know in one of them it's got away, for example. But that aside, playing a weekend for 4 games over the course of the weekend with the same army over and over again, not changing the list, not changing. We need to get Brom to do this. So literally the same army every time.
We tell him to do that.
We need to get him to do that because he might actually start learning the rules for the data sheets then at that point.
But he plays the same army with the same rules a month in a row and still has to look at the data sheets. What's the combat profile of Orc Knob?
Is it 6 -2/2?
madness, isn't it?
I know it was a good lucky guess that 'cause it's quite
Yeah.
rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, he does. He does in round 1, and then he might remember round 2. And then round 3, he will check again.
I barely pulled my rules out. Legitimately, honestly, 100% barely pulled my rules out all weekend. Literally all weekend. And what I've learned, chat, is if you go to a tournament, pull your rules out and just say it confident enough, they'll believe you. I'm joking, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. But there are times where, like, as people were talking about the tournaments there, it said like he says, I'd be more likely to come to if I knew there were more people as patient as Joe. And there are. I think the problem is that there are a lot of people at tournaments that are there to have fun and do stuff. There were 30 Great Hall members there that just wanted to drink and have fun. The amount of people I saw walking around with those 2-pint cups.
Yeah,
of beer.
I have heard of.
Yeah.
Right, we're talking 200 players.
Yeah.
We're talking 6 games over a weekend, so a significant amount of Warhammer being played. And I've heard of 4 bad games out of all of it.
Yeah.
Max.
Yeah.
4, maybe 5.
It's like anything. You're going to run into annoying people, even at work, you know.
There's dickheads everywhere.
Yeah, like, so...
Joe works with one.
Yeah, so... it happens. Sometimes they get famous by accident. So, like, I think when you go to tournaments, like, don't be scared, like, because you did that.
I don't care.
With your big feet.
What else?
Close enough. Like, you're going to run into people, like, let's be honest, if you go to a tournament, there might be a chance you're going to lose every game. But you're playing people, you might be playing some people that know the rules better than you. They're, like, the amount of people I played into where I knew their rules and they knew my rules.
Yeah.
I did a Tyranid mirror match.
Yeah.
Right? And that was really difficult because we were talking halfway through the game. It's like, it's really difficult to play into someone who knows exactly what your entire army can do. But the difficult thing is that person plays the army different to how you play it. And the lists are different kind of thing. So it's like the example of like me and Paddy both play Blood Angels. He plays them very tactically, very mindfully, like every game he goes into, he analyzes. And I just YOLO, right? And then when I played into the Tyranid guy, very tactical, very mindful, has all the tools. I just YOLO. So it's like you're going to do that. So, but what we might find is if you play someone who knows your army really well, they'll give you ideas on how to play it better next game. You know,
Big Baking Science just put a lovely comment as well. I love you guys. You don't know how much we need you in this hobby. You just sit and chat and brings us all happiness. I appreciate that. That's what we're trying to do. And thank you so much for the kind words. He then says, it even makes me want to start 40k and go beachhead. Lol. You should. Lol means laugh out loud.
I tell you what, this year was the best beachhead I've ever done.
I'm going to go a step further.
Yeah.
I think it's my favourite tournament I've ever been involved in.
The only thing that let it down was me. Right? Right? And the problem is that I eventually bowed down to peer pressure.
Right? You say eventually.
But people get really...
It didn't take a lot.
People get really arsey when you say no. And they're like, do it. And I'm like, if I do it, will you stop? And they're like, yeah. And you get, cool. Here's another one. And then, do it. And I say, no. So playing Get Round 2 at 1:00 on Saturday, I was in my own personal hell.
Yes. You weren't in a happy place, were you?
I did really well. I could have won that. I was so close to winning that game. Right? So close to winning that game. But at the same time, I wanted to be sick and I had a horrible headache. I said to my opponent, please be gentle before the game started. Yeah. I was like, you're probably going to win this. You're probably going to smash me, but please be gentle.
You were fully in the hurt locker though, weren't you?
I have not been affected by alcohol like that ever. It was awful. I wanted to die.
If it helps, I was fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was not in a good state. But I went and I played, and we had a really good game. His list was incredible. He played it really well, and he went really well. He did really well at the tournament. But I learnt more because he was playing Nurgle Demons. And then we stood there and we talked about how to play Nurgle demons better and like ideas of playing Nurgle demons in the future. And it was a great learning experience.
Fucking Ross, fuck off with your Solero. He's got this thing about Soleros being the best hangover cure. He said it here on the Fanes weekend when we did the Spearhead.
Really?
Yeah, he's talking about
Bloody
Soleros
love.
all the time.
Do you remember Solero shots?
No.
They went away. They were great. They were. You know the icing on a Solero, on the outside of a Solero.
Yeah.
It was just a little tub of those little icy beads.
It
looked like a tiny dustbin that you poured
This
them
is
out
also
of.
why lately I took over reading out the super chats, because when Joe does it, we get through about 4 and we're off on a tangent talking for.
You read the next one. I'm going to go for a week.
I can't read the next one because I've got it open on a certain part ready. Oh
You
my
take that
god!
one. Just two-hand it.
Just two-hand it.
Yeah.
You've just done Joe's winning streak, haven't you? You didn't heart it. So how do I know that you've read it if you didn't heart it? Thank you, Tag, for the 5. In your opinion, and now I need him for this one because I haven't read that book. I'll get to yours in a second, Tank. Right? I'm going to skip past it for now, only because Joe's read that book and I haven't in terms of the Crusade book. Kazaria, thank you for the 2. Remember the Rage Folk had at Law for 8 bound? I remember. People, honestly. Arctic Door, thank you for the $20. Thank you for the orange one, you absolute legend. They say dying race, so say planets and population is 90% reduced in its height of civilization. That would still be billions or trillions of people and still hundreds of worlds. They say dying, but I always see it as in decline. But I mean, yeah, I think often things are open to interpretation as well, aren't they? They'll say dying race or a race in decline or a race on the brink or whatever, but they won't tell you how many there are. They won't tell you how many elves exist, where they are, how many. Like they leave it. I think and Games Workshop, I think, are often a little bit sort of mysterious in their narrative on purpose. I think they leave it open to interpretation on purpose, and I think they leave it open to give themselves the space to expand the narrative and change the narrative and adapt the narrative in the future and decide what path this particular faction goes on, whether they're going to grow or die off, whether they're going to be successful or be devastated, whether Cady is going to be blown up. They leave these things open so often to allow them their pathways in the narrative, but I also feel like they do it on purpose to allow you your pathways in the narrative. And I think that's a thing that people often, I think, in my own personal opinion, people often lose sight of a little bit. They realise that, or they don't realise at least, that it's a narrative framework that's there for you to do what you want. And even then, the framework is as loose or as restricting as you want it to be. So the narrative framework could arguably be restricting enough to say, if you play Iron Warriors, you have to be Chaos. As Joe said, that's not the case. You don't have to let that particular piece of narrative framework restrict you, and you can make Loyalist Iron Warriors based on the fact that they used to be Loyalist. There's so many things you can do, and I think sometimes people take what is quite a obscure and open narrative to allow you that creative space, that creative freedom. They take it too serious and too literal, as if they can't then themselves come up with their own piece of lore or narrative in that space. Because that's not what the law says. You can do what you want. You can say that my Eldar are loyal to the Emperor. My Eldar recognise the Emperor as what you can do this, right? You could just make it up. They worship him as one of their gods. They think that he is one of the previous Eldar deities. Like, you could do that. And a lot of people are going, fuck, it's your narrative. Do what you want.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's loads of people like the games I don't do models for them. But there's loads of people that have guard armies that are allied with Tau. They do Tau because there are planets of humans that are part of the greater good.
Yeah, I just feel like these little tweaks and changes, they might even end up opening up more creativity. If they open up more creativity to both Games Workshop and to the individual hobbyist, I think that's a good thing. Honestly,
CJ concurs with Luce. Full fat Coke.
Full fat Coke all the way. Yeah.
Hangovers. I don't have a hangover now though. I just bought it because my Tesco garage didn't have anything else.
Yeah. I really want to make a Loyalist Death Guard army. Do it.
Yeah.
You can.
Well,
absolutely.
What's great is during 8th and 9th edition, all the Space Marine Codex supplements, and they did one for every chapter. They had like a section which is all the successors in it.
Yeah.
And every chapter had a successor chapter, a newly founded one from the Indomitus Crusade, and all their colours were traitors.
Yeah.
So like Blood Angels have got a Sons of Horus coloured one. Ultramarines have got like a Word Bearers coloured one.
Yeah, I'd 100% encourage you to do that.
Well,
Absolutely. Right, there's one that I didn't heart because it asks about that book, and I didn't look through that book, and you did look through that book.
When I say look through it, I looked at the pictures. I did not read anything. Why?
So Liam is okay with Black Templar psychics. Well, no, but this is my point, isn't it? Like, this is what I was saying earlier. I personally don't want female custodians in the narrative, and I personally don't want female space marines in the narrative. And if I came up against someone who had female custodians, that's their hobby. And this is where the world has lost its way a little bit, where I can say categorically, I don't think Black Templars should even be allowed to take psychics in the narrative. I don't think that should be the case. But it's not my place to tell another person they've done it wrong. If they followed the rules and they've made their narrative and they followed their the rules of the game, they're not broken the rules.
Yeah.
They do what they want. That's their army.
There's also ways around it, right? So you could say, I'm a big fan of Blood Ravens, right? Blood Ravens have got a lot of psychers in their army, right? And they're based off, fun fact, because it was like this random 4-year-old law that kind of didn't get released, but the paperwork had been written kind of situation where Blood Ravens are actually loyalist Thousand Sons.
Yeah.
Right? Basically after Prospero got burned, a bunch of the Corva Day Thousand Sons turned up and they're like, oh no, home, where should we go? Terra. They went to Terra and it kind of got sequestered and hidden away. But you could go like, I really like Blood Ravens, but I don't like the new Psychic Conclave. But I like the way Black Templars fight. I like the idea of having a bunch of older Space Marines leading around a bunch of novitiates to teach them. I like Sword Brethren. They look really, really cool. And I could put Librarians in, because Blood Ravens. There are ways around it if you're worried that people are going to judge you, but at the same time, like, just, at the end of the day, it's your hobby. Do what you want.
Again? Like, I'm a person who would rather be more lore accurate than not, and I don't personally like the idea or the concept of putting Librarians in Black Templars army. I think Games Workshop, when releasing Black Templars attachments, should lock no psychers rather than locking it to the models that you've selected. That being said, it's their game, it's their hobby, and when the individual puts a Librarian with Black Templars or does something else that's not lore accurate, you know what? Go for it. It's your hobby.
Yeah.
Play the way you want to play the game, and you have sometimes I think people have to realise that it's essentially our job to sit on the internet and have an opinion on things, and so I have an opinion on things. And I have an opinion as to what I think, what I would like to see and what I wouldn't like to see. But I am by no means going to go up to an individual and say, you've done it wrong, because it's their hobby. They do what they want. And so do I want Librarians in Black Templars? Absolutely not. If I played a person over the table who came up to me with a Black Templars army with a Librarian on it, but he didn't have Helbrecht or whatever, am I going to get pissy with him? No. It's his hobby. But like, cool. What's your narrative, mate? Go for it. Tell me a narrative. Because if you're into your narrative and you can give me a reason, let's just play some fucking Warhammer.
Well, the thing is, though, it's like I want when downstairs gets sorted out, I don't want to do. We are obviously going to cater to the competitive crowd, we don't have to. But at the same time, I just want to do Warhammer fun narrative events, and I want people to bring fun narrative stuff. And if they've made their own narrative up, I might go, what is the narrative, right? Why have you bought 3 Rogel Dawn tank commanders and 3 Rogel Dawns? And you go, well, it's a Rogel Dawn tank company,
Yeah, but you can also say, I just fucking love Rogel Dawns.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, and that's like, what's narrative? It's a Rogel Dawn tank command company. If honest, I just love Rogel Dawns.
There's a legend who gets in the comment section of every battle report we do and comments on the lists. Right?
Oh, why is there more than one captain guy?
Yeah. I love him for it. He's never rude about it. It's always like tongue in cheek and a bit of jest. But he's always like, need to have a minimum 800 points of battle line and 1 officer, and that's it. And I'm like, 10th just doesn't function that way.
Yeah, this isn't bolt action.
But I love the back and forth, and he's never like, you're a fucking useless pack of useless shits on this channel. It's just a jokey thing.
Yeah.
But he's like, I prefer. His narrative is he prefers more battle line, less characters. And that's fine. That's an opinion.
The thing is, I wouldn't mind there being more battle line. So, like, I want there to be more restrictions on how you build your army lists.
Yeah, I miss combined arms.
Yeah. But then I want there to be more. There should be a benefit to having battle line outside of they can fall back and do an action. There's a game out there that exists in the world called Blood and Valor, which is a World War I game, right? Which has it's not a similar command point system. It's completely different. Each turn, it's alternate activations, but you bid. You blind hand bid who activates their unit next, right? And each unit you have on the table gives you a war bond, essentially, which is your bidding currency. Your elite units give you 1, but your essential battle line units give you 3. So it's like, so you don't have to take the battle line units, but if you do, you have a better chance of activating your units, because what you do is you can bid up to a maximum of 6, and whoever bids the highest wins. But sometimes you don't want to activate a unit, so you go, I'm going to bid nothing, kind of thing, and then your opponent might go, I'll bid 6, I really wanted to go, and so it's like a mini game in itself. But that's by the by. So like, I want my battle line unit to be like, well, if I have games which goes, if you have 4 battle line units, you get an extra CP of 10, or if you've got more battle line units on the table, like you can do an extra Overwatch. So like there should be a benefit to having them on the table that influences the game more than just going. They could do an action if you pull that card.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, in one specific mission.
Yeah,
because I'm like, there's no reason to put battle line in army, in my opinion, unless your army is built around it, like custodes, for instance, when they've got no real option but to take loads of battle line.
Yeah, cool.
Who's Joe Hendry?
I don't know. Next.
I don't get it. Oh, Tank the Unknowing. In your opinion, are the Crusades books worth the outlay for the lore, and do you think that this or Black Library is the best way to expand it? I mean, you didn't need to read the book. So basically, like, I like the Crusade books because they're a way of giving people to play the game differently, right? I don't necessarily like Crusade because I think it's way too admin heavy. They need like Crusade Light.
Yeah.
I
don't read the books at all.
But there are things that happen in the books that I would like Black Library to cover.
What you got to realise, Tank, is narrative for Games Workshop is normally a 2-stage process. Stage 1 is some lunatic writes some rules in a Crusade book or a campaign book or some kind of extra rule book that comes out. And that is normally not the greatest lore you're ever going to read in your life. Maybe lacks depth, maybe lacks explanation or reason as to why it exists. Then what eventually happens is the Black Library authors, like your ADBs and your Dan Abnetts, get hold of that narrative and expand it into an actual book.
But they might.
And then they might, and always.
Yeah.
And then it might get some good depth and some good explanation. So typically you'll find that for good narrative, it's a 2-stage process. What I will say is, if you don't get the Crusade books and the narrative and the like campaign books and stuff, it can then be hard to get hold of that narrative, and then you might end up with gaps in your narrative because you haven't picked up those books.
Yeah, so it's like, prime example, right? I was talking to Mr. Warhipster about this. Is end of 7th into 8th, we had the Fall of Terror, Rise of the Primarch, and the Birth of the Ennead. Triple books, basically. I think one was called, right? I can't remember what it's called. One was Fall of Terror, whatever, right? And that had
Gathering Storm.
Gathering Storm. The Gathering Storm stuff, right? Incredible narrative books with some cool narrative missions in it. And I think I had them at the time, but I don't have them now. But and since then, like, a lot's happened. But the lore around that is so influential about everything that's happened in the last 2-3 editions that I'm kind of like, I want to go and explore that more, but you can't, because the Fall of Cadia narrative book has loads more stuff in it than what comes in the Black Library book about Fall. There's a couple Black Library books about the Fall of Terror. about a fall of Cadia, but from different angles. So you never get like the whole picture kind of thing. The Rise of the Primarch, where basically cool Saint Celestine, Inquisitor Greyfax, Yvraine, and what's his name? The sword guy that hangs around with Yvraine.
Vizark.
The Vizark turn up at Ultramar together, Space Marines, like massively xenophobic, don't trust the alien, don't trust the wizards,
Turn up with aliens.
Turn up with aliens and wizards. And they're like, can we just go and have a look at Guilliman's corpse? And the Ultramarines are like, yeah, why not? And then they bring him back to life. And it's like, I want to see that from. If I'm honest, I want someone to read it to me in my ears, because I'm lazy.
Yeah,
I don't want to spend. I don't want to spend £70 on an old book that I don't have anymore.
That's fair.
So I'm like, so I wish that they'd basically make an audio version of the narrative in these books. They just found a way to just kind of abridge the sections together. So I wish that the Nachman Gauntlet Crusade book came with a narrative story at the same time, much in the same way as like Curse City had a Curse City novel that was released at the same time, which was kind of about the board game. That's what I want. That's what I really want, because I do think they're worth getting if you want all the lore. There are lore channels out there that go, this book was released, here's everything you need to know.
Yeah. Yeah. I like reading it, though.
Yeah, because there's a cool bit in the Rise of the Primarch where you've got Yvraine, Call, Greyfax, and Celestine in the massive hall where Guilliman is being held. It's like massive. It's like a massive open. It's like the Mines of Moria, all the pillars and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And then Harker Worldclaimer and Abaddon crashed like a thunderhawk into it, and there's like a massive war going on. I was like, I want to read about that.
Those Thunderhawks that Chaos can't take anymore.
Yeah. Despite the fact that they do have them.
Cool. I think it's another orange one straight after.
And you wonder why these super chat things sometimes take a long time.
I don't wonder. I know why they take a long time. You could put 3 words in a super chat and you would be able to talk about it for half an hour, which is both a wonderful skill, it's incredibly endearing, but also terrible for our timekeeping.
Does that mean we can't go to Lidl then?
Aldi, yes, we can. Well. Why? Is it because you want your KFC?
Now you've said it, but then I don't know if I want to have a week of sausages though, like I did the last 2 weeks. I've consumed so much meat in the last 14 days.
Okay.
Yeah, you should have seen the size of the mixed grill I had on Saturday night.
I did see the size of the mixer we had. I bought it.
Having ribs as a starter to a mixed grill was a bold choice.
It was.
Right. And then in my defence though, the picture of the mixed grill didn't look that big.
I've seen them before. We could just go to Fridays, Joe.
Let's get through these. Right. It was so good. But me and Balin both had one, and we were just sat at either end of the table looking like Mr. Creosote.
Yeah. You did both look like you were in the Hurt Locker.
Yeah, Balin, by the way, beautiful human being.
He is a beautiful human being.
Love him.
Definite one.
Definite one. Nothing like a private joke to have on screen. Right. Thank you, Will Stewart. I think the worst they have done is with Yarrick. Not that he died, but it was a footnote. It was a footnote. He deserved better, and it felt lazy and cheap. If they are going to make a change, put the effort in and justify it. 100%. 100%.
But I don't know what the footnote was. Did they make a change, or have they just left it open for him to return in the future?
He may or may not be dead, but he kind of rocks, kind of. He's kind of.
This is the thing, isn't it?
I read that and changed my last word. It kind of. He's kind of alive, kind of dead. We don't know, but he is kind of dead. Was the kind of Games Workshop response.
Yeah, I feel like they just left it open.
It was one of those ones where, right, I'm going to badmouth Games Workshop. I don't like to because I know sometimes they watch, but don't take this too harshly. I do think that Games Workshop has a lot of older people that works for Games Workshop and they care about the jobs. They love, they have been there for 15, 20 years. They've been there since they're at university. Warhammer, the lore is their life, right? I love you people dearly. However, Games Workshop has a history of hiring people, young people, straight out of university, whose life is partying, and they really liked Warhammer when they were younger, and they want to get back into Warhammer.
Well, it's because they struggle to hire anyone who's ever seen anything that resembles an actual serious wage.
Yeah, so they like to hire cheap, and they could go, I could hire this slightly older person who loves the hobby, knows it inside out, and would be a real asset to the company, or I could hire this 19-year-old for less money, right?
Who might still end up being an asset.
Who has potentially maybe more skills in terms of technology or whatever, or design, but doesn't have the know-how. So I think when they have, so they always go for the cheaper option.
Yeah.
So when you have these younger people that aren't in the know,
We're making sweeping assumptions here, by the way.
like, I'm just tarring you with the same brush, not with the same brush. I'm just using a paintball gun mounted on the back of a Jeep to tar you all with the same paint here. I feel like sometimes the Warhammer community team is filled with people that don't know a vast amount or don't care about specific things. Right, so this person, who's writing this thing, doesn't really care about God.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree. Here's the thing, right? Let's take that because it's Will. Let's take the Yarrick situation specifically. Let's say Games Workshop decide Yarrick's leaving. Okay, the Codex, which they did.
Yeah,
right. So let's say what they do now is they do what Will asks for. They do a whole single page, massive thing about how he got rid of, how he died, and they release a Black Library novel at the same time that expands and tells the whole story. They make a huge thing of it, and they give him the send-off he deserves.
Gets like a commemorative model. Or
yeah.
Something, yeah.
And then in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, they decide, we want to bring Yarrick back. What they've got to do at that point is they've got to retcon that lore. And have we not just seen everyone getting very upset when lore gets retconned?
Do you know what they do? Do you know what they do, right? It's something that they've already done, right? They bring back the son or daughter of that character.
Yeah, with Ursula Creed.
Ursula Creed. They were like, Creed is gone, but guess what? He had a kid.
But I feel like leaving it open and a bit woolly, although seems disrespectful to the character at the time, and I get it, Will, I agree with you, I feel like does give them more scope in the future to bring that character back without the internet going, you said he was dead.
I think the biggest problem is that we don't have the Warhammer community of 4 years ago, the team, like what we had. And I feel like they've lost a bit of the lols, as it were, the comedy, the fun, like I think what they could have done is he's gone now, but will he be back? They
could what they could have done is they could have done a one-page story about how he's disappeared, right?
Yeah,
and that he's off. They could have done that.
In that book. What does it talk about Karandras?
I haven't got that
Is
far.
there anything about Karandras in there?
Let me find out.
Because he's gone.
He has, yeah.
He's gone. He's gone a wandering.
He's warp-spidered.
Yeah. They're like, I think Games
No, striking scorpion.
Striking scorpion, He's slivered away.
He's got ultimate striking scorpion stealth.
The striking scorpions don't really sliver. Scorpions don't really sliver. They scuttle. Right? But
DJ, yeah.
He's scuttled into a hedge. He's gone under a rock.
Well, there's a whole page for Prince Uriel of Yandid who's no longer in the book.
Oh, that grips me. don't worry. That grips me. We're talking about narrative and lore. We're going to give him a whole page spread.
Well, it's not a whole page. Well, it is a whole page, but it's not a whole page of writing.
Yeah.
Harlequins.
Does he get mentioned? Because what I think is that what they should have done with Yarrick is what they've done with Prince Uriel, Seth. Keep mentioning him. Just keep saying he's still there. Leave it open. He's got a whole...
Karandras the Shadow Hunter. Unlike his fellow Phoenix Lords, Karandras is not the eldest exarch of his aspect. That honour instead belongs to Ara, the father of Scorpions, the falling Phoenix who betrayed his people. In the wake of Ara's defection, Karandras rose to his position. Rumours have long persisted that after Ara's treachery was revealed, he and Karandras duelled each other for weeks in the ruined remains of Xandros and the Shrine of the Slicing Orbs. and that only one of them emerged from the battle with their soul intact. The fate of Ara is unclear, though some who dwell within the webway claim he lives still, teaching his murderous art in the darkest corners of Aeldari civilization. Whilst Ara left his mark upon the practices of the striking scorpions, the patience of the hunter that now pervades the Aspect's teachings comes from Karandras and Karandras alone. Karandras is master of close combat. His helm is fitted with a superior Mandy blaster known as the Scorpion's Bite, the sting of which can kill a foe in an instant, or at least wound them badly enough for Karandras to spring forwards and rip them to shreds. With his diamond-toothed chainsaw and slicing power claw, as swiftly as Karandras strikes, he's gone again, melting into the shadows to begin his hunt anew. That's it.
So he still exists, but there's no model for him.
No more for him.
So I think obviously we'll get one for him next edition. Also, why don't they just say that it's Drazar?
Is it supposed to be Drazar? Is it?
Arrow is Drazar. Drazar is the first Scorpion Phoenix Lord.
Is it?
Yeah.
I like the mystery of it though. Yeah, that's what you got for. That's what you get. For
I like
progress.
the open mystery of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had the Drazar and Jane Czar double box set, didn't they?
Yeah.
In the previous edition, and basically, spoiler alert, it was 5 years ago now. Drazar got killed by Lilith, but because Drazar is a Phoenix Lord, a Kabbalite warrior or a witch picked up his armor, put on the helmet, became Drazar. Because that's how Phoenix Lords work, isn't it? Just the armor just goes onto someone else, and they just become that person, but they still have lived the life of the person that put the armor on.
Isn't the armor of the Phoenix Lords like empty?
Well, yeah, but it absorbs the life force of the person that puts the armor on.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, so it's they slowly fade away, but they're still the person.
So in terms of the fact that Karandras isn't in the book, as far as I've read so far, there's no.
So it's still a lot. So why don't they just do that with? Garrick?
Yeah, they should have done. They should have done.
It's frustrating.
You're right. Well, they should have done that. They should have done something more. But I would prefer that they left it open than just killed him off.
Someone else, Matt is right. That speaking of Creed, Creed's in one of Trezan's little vaults. One of his little pokeballs.
His little pokeball. Yeah. Cool. Right, we've got loads to get through, Joe.
The Fall of Cadia, by the way, great book.
We're not going to get to this food at this rate, are we?
I think it's.
You've got a table to strip and rebuild.
Oh yeah, Will share. So I think the worst they have done. Oh, that we've done that already. I didn't do the thing.
No.
Limey Panda, because before you've been reading them and tagging them. So
Yeah, but now you're reading them.
Limey Panda. All this does is give Aeldari a reason to fight Votan over materials and minerals and shit.
So that's a narrative expansion then,
Yeah,
which is good.
yeah, because Votan are like minerals. Dig in. Are they?
Yeah.
Do Votan have law?
I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. Have you heard that song?
No.
Oh,
No. Did you ever read the Artemis Fowl books?
no.
You're young. When I was younger, there was a series of books called Artemis Fowl. It did also have a terrible film attached to it as well. But the dwarfs in that, because they wanted to be different, was that the dwarves dug. They all basically had trousers with bum flaps on. They'd unhinge their jaws, and like worms, they'd just like go, and they'd eat their way through the ground. And then as a weapon, they'd store up all the silt and mud in their bodies, and they'd pull their fingers and then fire mud poo at people.
Right.
That's what Votan are in my head.
Cool. Okay, right.
And the word leprechaun means lower elemental police recon.
I've just lost the comment that I was waiting for because it's taking you so long to read through everything. It's now got up so high that I can't see it.
What was the comment?
I don't know because it's just gone.
What do you mean you don't know? You held on to it. You had it in front of you.
I was, yeah, but I've been sat there with the name there.
Give us a brief synopsis.
It was about something to do with real life and complaining about the narrative from Rockingdor.
Oh, that's made up. It's not real life.
Keep going. Too late now. I might take over your fan funding stuff now because you're taking absolutely forever.
Because I'm giving people a reason to send us money.
We're only on 39 members as well, Jay.
Yeah. War Boss Benny, my problem is not with female custodies, but how they ham-fisted them into existence. It's like the Rogel Dawn tank, and they introduced it into the law.
100%.
Yeah,
and this is what we said at the time. Like, I think a lot of people were upset at their existence, but I think a lot of people were like, cool, you've brought them in, that's fine, but at least give us a reason as to why they exist, or give us some depth to it, or give us a little bit of backstory as to why it exists. Like, that's what I feel like we should have had.
Yeah.
And if you and then when you gaslight on social media and say they've always been there, that's when your behaviour's a bit dickish.
What's annoyed me is like, so they did this similar thing in the 7th edition with Belisarius Call, right? There was a big sort of, we're bringing out the Admech Codex, and we're bringing. Well, he didn't come back. He came in the 40. We're bringing back a tech priest from the Horus Heresy. Right,
Yeah.
That's what they said. From the Horus Heresy, an established, cool Horus Heresy character. And everyone was like, "Oh, it's going to be Scoyer or something." Like, it was the evil Dark Mechanicum person, and everyone was like super jazzed about it. And then they were like, "And we're in back, Belisarius Call," and people were like, "Who the hell is this guy?"
Yeah.
It's like, he's from the Horus Heresy. And we're like, but he isn't. He's never been mentioned before. And then what happened was, about 3 months later, Wolfspear came out, which is a Horus Heresy book, where there's this whole side story about Belisarius Cole that they just kind of like, just get him in there. Just get him in there, so it's now. So I was like, if they just released that book before they released the model, it would have been fine.
Right, Okigdor's made it clear. Thank you, Okigdor. I'm glad you're here, mate. I'm glad you're here. Cool.
Real life is about complaining.
Yeah,
I do.
So he super chatted $2 and said, "Of course, all the time, because real life." And I was like, "What is that? What's that in reference to?" And he says, "It was because we complain about narrative on tabletop, because real life is about complaining. If people had nothing to complain about, they complain about the fact they had nothing to complain about.
Yeah,
that's how people work, unfortunately.
Yeah, like when I was a chef during the winter, we'd not get many customers during the day, and I complained about being bored.
Yeah, and then when it was too busy,
complain about being too busy.
Exactly.
It was horrible.
Exactly.
And then like I'd complain about being bored and having nothing to do, so I'd sit in the bar and watch TV and play pool. And then I complained when customers had the audacity to come in and buy food.
Yeah. I sometimes complain about the fact I have to stream, and then I slap myself and think, we're lucky.
Yeah.
Fucking get on with it, you loser. Kazari, thank you for the 5. There's corners of the internet that will openly claim to prefer Necrons without any personality. Literally hate Infinite and Divine. Madness. I've seen that. I've seen people that do that. I think Infinite and Divine's a fucking great book, by the way.
To it.
Oh, I love it. I've got an audiobook on Audible, and I think it's really, really good. The voice acting on Audible I quite like as well.
You read it?
I'll show you later.
I'm listening to Fulgrim at the moment, and it's not.
It's a hard listen, isn't it?
I listened to it back in Deer when the audiobooks were like you had to buy them on CDs, and I was like,
it's a compact disc, Ash. If you still watch them,
yeah, you had to put them into a CD, like they know that line in the front of your dashboard. That's what you put CDs into.
It's not what you store your parking tickets.
Yeah, and that was before kind of Jonathan Keeble became the voice of the Horus Heresy. But I do like how ridiculously posh they've made all the Emperor's Children characters. Yeah, he'd make a good replacement for David Attenborough when he.
I didn't love the narration on that one. I found it was difficult to listen to. The book itself isn't terrible, but I found it difficult to listen to. So, but you're right. Like Infinite Divine is great, and that was another retcon. That was another change, right? Infinite and Divine is such a good book, but previously Necrons just didn't have any character whatsoever. And Games Workshop, this is quite hard to write any kind of narrative for them, really. Much prefer where they are now to where they were before.
In 6th and 7th edition, there was the Fall of Orpheus.
Yeah.
Imperial Armor book, which was Minotaurs, Admech, and Necrons. And that was all about a Flayed One cult. And I was like, Flayed Ones.
Yeah, they're cool. Sam, thank you for the 5. I'm so here for this new book. I've seen the other channel's video. Much hype, big wow. CSM on hold until more news. PS, hope car passed Joe. Did you have your MOT?
It's MOT on Friday.
That's on Friday. Okay. I guess he means that Crusade book.
Yeah, I think 11th edition is going to be very kind to Chaos Space Marine players. I reckon.
I don't want to say whether I do or don't think that, because I know what you're like. You'll convince yourself it's true.
I'm convinced.
You'll get your little hopes up. You'll be all fucking excited for Chaos Space Marines. The book will come out. You'll call it shit.
Like, much to internet popular belief, I do think Games Workshop has the ability to learn. Right? their best-selling kit of last year was a Chaos Kill team for Night Lords, right? And I think, and they learned that, if we put Imperial Guard in kill teams, we'll sell kill team box sets, right? Krieg, Kassakin, Scions, right? So I reckon they'll go, I want every Legion represented in kill team with its own.
I've actually finished my coffee for a change.
I reckon we'll get a kill team for every Legion,
Yeah.
and that's good.
I think having the option to buy those kinds of kit, option, not requirement,
Yeah.
to buy those kind of kits for narrative purposes, etc., is good. I don't like it being locked behind kill team. Before, being locked behind kill team was fine, no issues. Modern day, locking it behind kill team means we're putting some cards in so we can charge you $5 or more per box. And I don't like that.
£8 more, basically.
Well, yeah, and I don't like that.
Yeah, it in itself is a con.
Yeah. If it's in an orange kill team box with the kill team logo on it, I don't give a shit. I'll still buy striking
But I think
scorpions.
if Games Workshop turned around and said, you either don't have this thing, or you can have this thing, but you have to buy it from another game system.
Yeah.
So it's like currently,
But that's not what they're saying, is it? They're saying because we've always had to buy it from another game system.
Yeah.
If you look at veteran guardsmen, a la Kriegsmen,
Yeah.
you look at striking scorpions, etc. You've scouts. You've had to buy them from another gaming system for the longest time, and people weren't complaining about having to buy them from Kill Team. People are complaining about the fact that the Kill Team boxes have been reboxed. The price has gone up, and they've included the data cards inside.
I think what's most offensive about the Night Lords Kill Team is that it's Legionnaires with an upgrade sprue. Why isn't that upgrade sprue just sold on its own?
Exactly my point.
Yeah.
Exactly my point.
Because if you look at it like Forge World, if you buy 10 heads from Forge World, that's 15 quid. If you buy 10 shoulder pads from Forge World, that's a 15 to 20 quid, right? If you want the weapons, you just can't buy them from Forge World, or you have to spend 60 quid on loads of different weapons. So it is cheaper. It is technically cheaper just to buy the Kill Team box set, but at the same time, I can go out and buy a Blood Angels upgrade sprue, a Cadian shot upgrade sprue, a Dark Angels upgrade sprue. Why can't I just buy the Night Lords one?
Yes, because loyalists are their favourites.
Yeah.
Hang on, Smiddy's 609. Thank you for the 220 Danish krona. It takes away the post scarcity of craft odds. It does to a point, yes, but I don't think it does. So it potentially can take away the post scarcity of our Eldar craft worlds by making it a composite material that anyone could manufacture. But it does go on to say that it's the bone singers that mold, shape, and grow this particular compound. And so I don't think it does take away the post scarcity. However, if you're convinced it does take away the post scarcity, then what it does then do, like I've said, is it opens up potential more narrative arcs in the future. And I think that's a good thing overall. Sometimes maybe you just need a Warhammer article that goes, we've made a change. Who knows what's coming? You can still be kind of like super sketchy about it. But
like you've said in the past, Warcom is a sales tool.
Yeah, of course it is.
Right?
Absolutely.
But I do think that it can also be used as a tool to manage people's expectations.
Yeah, it can. 100%.
And that's something the Games Workshop's had to learn to do. I think they could be better at it. Is be like, by the way, this is happening.
Yeah.
And this is why it's happening. Please respect that, you know?
Kazari, thank you for the 2. Thoughts on the Nachman Deep Strike mishap table, Joe? In the meantime, thank you, Tim, for the 5. Getting to watch Liam and Joe on my birthday, eating birthday cake. Everyone in chat, say happy birthday, Tim.
Happy birthday, Tim.
What a legend. Lovely to see you this weekend, man, as well. You're looking good.
I say, looking at this book, I wouldn't mind trying some of the missions just to do something different and fun. We talked about the idea of doing competitive Tuesdays.
Tournament
Tuesdays. Thursdays could be what random mission can we find?
Yeah, I'm into it. We've got the book. We could do the random missions.
Surgical Deep Strike. 2d6. Oh, it's basically like the old one. Okay. So you roll 2d6 on a 4+ precision strike. Your unit can act normally. 3 plus. Hold onto the battle. You must take a battle shock test when you try and basically if you try and land close to enemy models. Essentially, off balance, your unit is battle shocked. Just immediately battle shocked.
Yeah.
I like that. And then deep strike mishap. Your unit suffers a deep strike mishap. Roll 1d6 and consult the deep strike mishap table. On a 1, your unit suffers d3 mortal wounds and is battle shocked. On a 2, recalled under fire. Your unit suffers d3 mortal wounds and must be placed into strategic reserves. That unit cannot be set up on the battlefield this turn. Off target, your unit suffers d3 mortal wounds, is battle shocked, and must perform another surgical deep strike. When doing so, none of its models can be placed within 12 inches of where they were set up. Anticipated, your unit suffers d3 mortal wounds and is battle shocked. One enemy unit that is within 9 inches of your unit can make a normal move up to d6 inches. Misdrop, your unit suffers d6 mortal wounds, is battle shocked, and until the end of the turn is not eligible to declare a charge. And a 6, disaster, your unit suffers d6 mortal wounds, is battle shocked, and until the end of the turn it is not eligible to shoot or declare a charge. I like that. Do you remember the old one where, because you used to scatter, where like it'd be like your unit is just dead, is destroyed, or my favourite was like your opponent gets to place them.
Yeah, well,
that was always hilarious.
It used to be like a fucking. You don't want to scatter into terrain because of dangerous terrain tests. Yeah. You don't want to scatter into enemy models. So like screening was so much less prevalent because it wasn't just I go here.
I like that idea of bringing the deep strike mishap table. Like there should be a risk to deep striking within 6 instead of like I just come in and delete your unit.
Yeah,
I'd kind of like that to come back.
I miss that kind of stuff. I do.
I think that'd be cool.
Okigdor, thank you for the 1 gifted membership. Richard Evans, thank you for the 1 gifted membership. Evan thank you for the 1 gifted membership. Matt Richardson, thank you for becoming a Skull tier member. And then finally, Chaotic Failure. Ben, thank you for 10 gifted memberships.
I hope that this Friday, your work at lunchtime lets you have a pizza party. But you get to order the pizza that you want. You just don't walk in and there's just a bunch of random pizza that's like cold. Like you have like a Domino's or whatever. And then you get to go home after it.
You can almost guarantee tonight, chat, if 5 gifted or more, you're going to get a pizza-based hope, it seems, today. That's what's happening so far.
I had pizza for dinner.
Did you?
Yeah.
Is that why?
It was really spicy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have hot snakes though.
No.
Just a bit of steam.
No. We're on 39 members, chat. 1 more gets us to 40. 11 more gets us to 50 before we say goodbye. Thank you, Christian Lebanowitz, for the $2. I have 6 days left on gifted. That's because we said some people, after they get gifted, will become a member all by themselves. And Christian has made out that he's going to do that very thing.
You become a Thane?
Asa.
Oh.
Smitty's, I'm joking. Smitty's, thank you for the 20. Lore update should add more than it take away. I agree with that. Even if it's depth and context, I do agree that you should give it. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But again, I guess some of that is subjective, though, right? You could argue that this has added more than it's taken away. Because it adds more as to where these minerals could be found or whether they might be protected
when you go, it's made of psychoactive material, it could be anything. But now it's like it's made of minerals. It's composite. You know?
Yeah.
They've elaborated or they've given you more information.
Whether this is given more or taken more away depends on how you look at it, and I think that you could argue this is giving you more.
Yeah. What I've always found interesting about Joe Everyman Warhammer Man, right, is people complain that they want more ways to play about Warhammer, right? Because they don't know how to play unless they've been told how to do it, right? So they're like, Games Workshop used to have casual play, match play, open play, or was like narrative, and they had 3 different ways to play it, and then people were like, we don't like open play, it's silly. We just want narrative and thing, and then Games Workshop developed this, and they were like, we don't like it. Give us another way to play, and they're like, here's a deck.
Give us a very specific way to play that we definitely want that we don't know we want yet.
Yeah, here's a deck of cards. You draw them at random. Have a random game of Warhammer. We don't like it. It's too random. Give us other ways to play. And it's like that's like just play what's in the back of that.
Evan, thank you for the 2. And she rocks. Probably.
I don't know who. Oh, Onshui.
Yeah,
The
Blue Man group.
The Blue Man group, yeah. What they call it, Ethereal.
That's the one. Yeah,
I never
thank
really
you.
cared about Ethereals, if I'm honest.
I
just thought they were just a bit weird.
don't know enough about them, so.
They may or may not be psychic people.
Was Anne Shui the one on the seat, or was that Anvar? One of them was like a floaty seat.
I did think it was a bit harsh that the Imperium basically sent a mental assassin to kill an old man in a chair.
Yeah, and then they just had a projection of him from there on, didn't they?
That was cool. That was cool narrative, though.
Simran, thank you for the 5. Great to meet you both at Beachhead, guys. Joe intrigued me by talking about his secret toilet Saturday, and Eldar Nerd Out with Liam Sunday was awesome. You are very welcome. I like the Eldar Nerd Out. You seem like a lovely chap.
I did enjoy the secret toilet.
What secret toilet?
Basically, it was
in the cloakroom.
In the cloakroom.
Were you using it?
Yeah.
You fucking creature.
Basically, I'd go and have
a cry,
a poo, or a cry, or a vomit, in the secret toilet.
By telling people about it, it's not a secret toilet anymore.
We'll have to find a new one. There is another one.
Another one.
What I was using for a long time, which last year I thought it was a secret toilet, but it was just a toilet that all the heresy players use. But this year, everyone was using it, and it got blocked so quickly.
Anyway, lovely to meet you, man. It's a pleasure to sit and chat to you for a half hour or so, whatever it was, around the bar area.
It was
really,
lovely.
really nice. Yeah. I will always be happy geeking about Eldar as well. Oh, love it. Christian, thank you for the $5. Good morning, gentlemen. I will be playing my first match with my local group with the new Codex Fire Dragons Assemble times 20 for the Great Hall. What a mate.
Guess I'll turn up at my house on the weekend whilst I was away.
10 more Fire Dragons?
10 more Fire Dragons for Liam.
Yeah, for Liam. Mm-hmm. But my competitive list does only have 15 in it.
I think 15 is the way to go.
Yeah.
Symmetry.
My competitive list currently has 15 in it. We'll talk about it off the stream anyway. Will, thank you for the $10. My issue with female custodians, I think they have done nothing with it since. All that fuss for nothing. At least give us a character model, not a weird Votan custodian, please.
They had the...
This is where
they had the Warhammer Plus cartoon about it, which I thought was really good because it had Von Ryan's in it.
Here's this really weird thing where I don't. This is why I sometimes don't understand what they do and why they do it. The custodian thing for me, if I was GW, I think you have to have your head firmly in the sand, not to think this is going to cause us a slight problem when we release this. Some people are going to be upset. So what I personally would do, and it might be partly because I'm a bit of a dickhead, but what I personally would do is I'd lean into it hard. I'd go, cool, we're going to do this thing. Some people are going to be little bitches about it.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to release this at the same time as releasing a novel, at the same time as releasing the cartoon, at the same time as releasing a specific model for her.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a backstory as to where she came from, how she exists. So anyone who's got any complaints about it, you're just making a complaint because it's a female custodian. Go and push it all out at once.
Yeah.
And that's what I would have done. And I think for me personally, who doesn't want to see this narrative change, I'm being open about it. I don't want to see this narrative change, but for me personally, they give me a backstory. They give me a cool narrative that makes the character super fucking sick as a custodian.
Yeah.
They give me a beautiful model. Do you know, at that point, I'm accepting it. I'm like, cool.
I want the model.
Great, yeah, it's cool.
It has to be a good model as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
they can do that.
Yeah, they do have the ability to make good models.
Yeah.
So,
hey, I feel like it's a weird kind of forced change for the sake of trying to make a change there that didn't necessarily need to happen, and I think the social media response was really fucking shit from them.
Yeah, I just think Games Workshop just wanted a Brienne of Tarth equivalent, didn't they? Which I don't have a problem with because it was really, really good. I enjoyed the little video they did of it, but it was just handled in a really poor way.
Yes, it was. And then we've got 2 hopes to go, Joe, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony Winnick, for the 10 gifted membership.
I hope, Tony Winnick, that for every army that you collect, Games Workshop does a set of dice to match it.
And then finally, Will, thank you for 5 more gifted, putting him on 25 today, Jojo.
Clearly been day drinking, old Will, isn't he?
Good man.
Good old Will. I hope, Will, that for the rest of winter into spring, when you've got your heating on, you don't just sit there still feeling cold regardless. There's been times when I've been sat at my desk painting and I'll be like, oh, I'm cold, but it's like the heating's on. I don't know what's going on.
This hope is going to kick in a while for you, Will, because obviously Joe he lives in this world where everybody, no matter where you are, is on the same time frame and in the same season. Joe, Will's in New Zealand.
Yeah, but New Zealand's just like England, but with more sheep.
Okay, cool.
And hobbits.
Cool. Okay. Anyway, thank you, wonderful human beings. We are well over the stream schedule target thingy. And we've got stuff to do. I've got lists to make for tonight for you and Brom.
Yeah, I sent you mine this morning.
You've both sent me the list so I can get them made.
Yeah.
We've got a table to strip and rebuild and a studio to start cleaning. I've got guests in the studio in a couple of weeks, Joe, so I want to have it cleaned by then.
Guests?
Yes.
Do I know about them?
Yeah, you know who they are, but you don't know what the day is yet. But I'll talk to you about it in a minute. I won't talk about it off. I'll talk to you about it off camera, not on camera. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hope you've enjoyed the show. I hope you've enjoyed this chat. I think to sum it up, for me personally, I don't understand why people get so upset about it. It's essentially something that's happened forever. They've always changed the law. I do, however, agree with the fact that they should always give more than they take away. And I think they should perhaps give a little bit more respect to the audience and be a little bit more in depth with things like, for example, Yarrick.
It's just a case of Games Workshop need, like I said, they need to be like they need to understand the feelings of the people, not be like, this is the way it is now. That's it. They need to be like we're going to make this change. Here's a good amount of information about it.
Will's name's Greylet.
How'd that happen?
I don't know. But yeah, I think you're right, mate. Anyway, tonight we've got a live game of Warhammer 40k, Joe versus Bromwell Ding Dong, and it is going to be a little narrative off of Dark Angels versus Space Wolves.
Yeah.
So you can look forward to that tonight. Tomorrow night we've got the Warhammer show back at the Home Office. My home office, not the Home Office.
Not the Home Office.
Yeah. Thursday we come back with another Liam and Joe show and a live game of 40k in the evening as well. I think it's me versus Tom, and I think he's bringing Votan, and I think I'm bringing some... I might bring some Harlequins or something. I'm not sure what we do yet on Thursday. What will probably happen on Thursday is I'll probably get to Thursday and say to Joe, I can't be bothered, and Joe will end up playing Tom. Otherwise, we've then got the After Dark show at 8:30 on Friday. Thank you, you wonderful human beings, for hanging out with us. Hopefully we'll see you tonight at 7:30. If not, we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, have a wonderful time.